Good afternoon, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. One second. You know very well about Unacademy. This is India's largest and the best online education platform. What are all the benefits you are likely to get once you enroll yourself in Unacademy? Ladies and gentlemen, if that's going to be your question, of course, you got daily live classes. You can chat with your educator and you can engage yourself in all-round productive discussions. And you can also, clear all of your genuine doubts with educator and participate in the answer polls. All these things you can do when the session's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a structured courses here which is completely based on UPSC Civil Service Examination, pattern and syllabus as well, so that we ensure you never get deviated from the expected framework. We save your time and energy by the way of doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, one particular point we are keep on emphasizing. What is that? It is not knowing this stuff, knowing to deliver the stuff, because delivery matters. It's not what you deliver, rather how do we deliver. And for that, we have got a mechanism, ladies and gentlemen. We evaluate your preparation in terms of various levels by conducting regular mock tests and quiz programs. You get, that in turn, a detailed analysis, a report based on your performance. You come to know where you are strong, where you are weak, and the time you have consumed in solving a particular question. Ladies and gentlemen, once you enroll yourself in Unacademy, you got unlimited access towards, more than 1 million videos. You might be aware. Whatever may be your electronic device, whether it is mobile phone, laptop, desktop, you can learn from anywhere, anytime, irrespective of your electronic device. We ensure that way. That, ladies and gentlemen, what you have to do, download Unacademy Learning app immediately. Whether it is, Android or iOS, once you download, you're ready to access all those benefits. Who is this interacting with you? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Success Sampath from Chennai. You might be aware. I've got the unique experience of, got exposed to the fields of engineering, management, and legal education. With 25 years of experience in the field of coaching, you might be aware, with my team, I could witness humble results, the 250 plus results. All my kids are working in different parts of India as IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS, and some of them in abroad as well, part of Union External Affairs Ministry, might be aware. And you can also parallelly ask me, what's your vision, sir? To be part of solution by simplifying the complexity, especially by providing career solution, by enabling youths of India to start with, later to embrace the global community. Ladies and gentlemen, fortunately, this particular vision of mine is completely in alignment with Unacademy's vision. We are working together to shape you so that you realize your dream, you realize your goal, you become leader or officer in your own capacity. And we together, building community, ladies and gentlemen, because as a bridge, we are part of solution. Ladies and gentlemen, you can also reach me through Telegram channel, using my ID, of course, Unacademy_Sampath. Or you can also watch a lot of my videos already available on the part of Unacademy, especially, through YouTube channels. You might be aware, use my ID, say Success Sampath or Sampath Irvengidam. And whether it is optional subject, sociology, or essay paper, or even ethics and integrity, even international relations, you get variety of videos there. Please watch them and you get benefited. And that because we are part of solution, I told you many times. You can also, the core is what you get having watched those videos. You can, reflect me back. You can type your comments. Probably we are very happy to answer you. Not only that, you can also reach me through social network using my ID. Once again, let me say Success Sampath or Sampath Irvengidam. That you can benefit more. And also, that having downloaded, Unacademy app, ladies and gentlemen, you are already subscriber of the course, that you're ready to access those videos. And, that if you're a beginner, of course, that you please download, you watch all those live videos. And previous, of course, that already we have discussed, that MCQs, part of prelims, cutting across various segments of GS. And that many questions came out of that, 5 years questions, previous year questions, discussions. People are giving us feedback, that we are thanking them, for their own, gratitude. And also, that gave us encouragement. We started discussing even the questions, previous year questions on the part of, main examination, various segments of GS cutting across, Indian economy and, current affairs, even the Indian constitution, polity we call. That, variety, that whether it is international relations or internal security, you please watch all those videos to benefit more. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not only me, as I told you, that we more than 100 plus top educators of India, expert in their chosen subject matter, waiting on the part of, Unacademy to support you. Under UPSC Civil Service Examination, ladies and gentlemen, we've got more than 15,000 courses, whether it is subject-specific module, duration-specific module, that you can subscribe, that depending upon your time availability and budget. Under UPSC Civil Service Examination, ladies and gentlemen, we have devised two major programs. One Plus program, another one is Iconic program. Yes. The Plus program, where you got, daily live classes, test series, unlimited practice sessions, structured schedule mechanisms. Yes. From 1 month to maximum 36 months, for which we have got a program here. Various programs here. Ladies and gentlemen, for that you can use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Yes, but that way, that I understand. It is, that great empire building process. Great things will take time. There is no leadership without passions. There is no leadership without persistence and consistency. And it is not hard work, it is smart work. Ladies and gentlemen, there comes our role, connecting you with smart technology, the tools, methodology, simplifying the complexity. That we, Unacademy, of course, we do everything. Please take part and benefit out of that. That's what I'm saying. Of course, you just see, having applied, that almost 9,000 rupees difference you get once you avail discount. You please, use my referral ID, say success. Ladies and gentlemen, more than this, plus program, we strongly recommend Iconic program. What is Iconic program? Yes, you will be allotted a personal coach, a mentor, understand your nature, and to suggest study planner accordingly, and to train you on everyday basis in terms of answer writing exercises. It is almost like individual attention, that it may be virtual learning, but individual attention. You can also download, PDF materials, that what are all the limitations on the part of, offline academy, that's overcome. Those things are overcome by this, that it's a convenience. You save time. You learn from your home, from your respective places, given COVID situation, a new normal. Ladies and gentlemen, you can make use of the benefit of this Unacademy. Of course, what I'm talking, when I say Iconic, a price hike is on the card. Please, that rush to, to the benefits available now. Of course, here too, you have, 12 months program to 36 months. Having, college going student, otherwise as a college going aspirant or work going aspirant, definitely you can be part of, that 2 years program or 3 years program, that benefits you more. Ladies and gentlemen, here too, having applied, that my referral code, say success, that you avail, the 10% discount. Of course, here too, you see the difference, 1.41 lakhs to, that 1.26. See the difference almost. You earn, 15K because of the, the discount. Ladies and gentlemen, as I told you, right, that the very Iconic program, a special program, a mentor will be allotted. Even for optional subject, that you can choose program 1 month to maximum 36 months, according to your convenience and budget. Here too, you can use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Ladies and gentlemen, if you apply that, almost 5K difference you get when it comes to optional subject. For all popular optional subjects, we extend our support to you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. I think, that, more than that, one particular, that learning is fun. The gamification going on part of Unacademy, you can participate, that earn while you learn. That is the concept of course. Ladies and gentlemen, that it's otherwise, that the fun, that's almost like solving Sudoku, that your knowledge, that ultimately tested here. Of course, it's a matter of fun, for that, you are compensated, that a matter of incentive, encouragement, that you got variety of gifts for that, that it's going on. Please enroll and participate there. And, when we talk about forthcoming, prelims, ladies and gentlemen, of course, you might be aware, you got, that only 6 months remaining. Please rush yourself, that start preparing immediately. You might be aware great things, that demands more time. Ultimately, you got variety of teams, on the part of an academy to support you. 6 months program, bilingual, exclusive Hindi, exclusive English. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about different teams, that waiting there on the part of an academy. And whether it is 2021 prelims, 2022 the prelims, or 2023 prelims come mains, everything in variety of batches, that with that are top educators, the subject matter experts, that waiting there to support you. Ladies and gentlemen, avail the benefit, whether it is, let me repeat once again, whether it is bilingual Hindi or exclusive English. Ladies and gentlemen, you can join the program. As I emphasized in the beginning, for the iconic program, the price hike is on the card. Of course, when I say, that you might be already aware what is iconic program, you would be allotted a personal coach. We spoke already. That you got, mains test series come evaluation. We customize your study planner, having understood your nature, and you will also be allowed to attend booster session, where, whenever you feel, that you needed some more clarification, and you will be participating in the high intensity workshops also. And apart from that, everyday answer writing exercises. Ladies and gentlemen, all these, the parameters, ultimately, that going to accelerate your preparation with daily, the input of the content. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, otherwise, having already joined the program, you can also upgrade towards iconic program. You got that facility too, you might be aware. Ladies and gentlemen, that welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. I think this is the right time. Let me take you to the very purpose and direction of today's interaction. Yes, refresh yourself. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you might be aware ethics and integrity is subject matter part of your UPSC main examination, especially the general studies paper 4, which has got the responsibility of 250 marks, where 120 marks meant for your theories and 130 marks you might be aware. 120 for theories and concepts, that we talk about, even thinkers, and whereas 130 marks meant for your, the case studies. The case studies are otherwise called, the social problem we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way, and you're going to provide ethical solution there. So this subject, that it's a very fantastic subject, ethics and integrity. Why I'm saying it's otherwise called written interview. When you go to, that having clear prelims, you go to mains written. Having cleared, that the cutoff of the mains written, you enter into mains interview, the oral interview, where you will be given, psychometric test, like, the questions, putting in a particular situation. Then you are forced, that you are supposed to answer, that your version that you do orally, but the same thing you do by written. That's why, the ethics and integrity is subject matter GS4, is otherwise called written interview. Ladies and gentlemen, this particular ethics and integrity we also call as a process of anticipatory socialization. Before you become officer, before you reach the level of, say secretary, a home secretary, or district magistrate, district collector, or DDO, whatever may be the Zilla CEO of Zilla Parishad. This question, treats you as if you have become. They expect, that from there, what's your solution? From that particular position, what you would have provided ethical solution. It's a matter of, that positive energy you witness by seeing the question. It is motivating you. The very subject matter itself highly motivating. Because that you got constitution, you got variety of penal mechanism, variety of that laws cutting across different states, even Supreme Court judgments. In spite of that, you see the deviance on the part of the society, and that even in social movements, that we have discussed variety how the protest, internal security challenges to the internal security. You talk about that maybe maybe the linguistic based state creations demands, and also that law and order deterioration mechanism in the name of religious fundamentalism and ideological extremism and northeastern insurgency, and also increasing crime rates, that when it comes to the crime against women, sexual assault on women, the rape, murder, domestic violence, the antisocial elements, ultimately, that variety of things we are talking about, all deviant activities, the criminal activities. that it's not a policy paralysis and paralysis of implementation we're talking about. Even on the part of implementation, there is going to be another human. What about that particular human being? You got law, no doubt, but in spite of that, why you see deviation? So that is what I'm talking about. There is always a gap between what is on paper, the law, and what is, that in practice. And you call, a de jure, de facto. You have to understand why that gap, the mindset of the people on the part of implementation, as people, as an individual, as the people part of, the public administration. So, that law has got its own limitation. Otherwise, law is too ideal. But it's not pragmatic in some particular circumstances, as Weberian, bureaucracy speaking that way, unable to find pragmatic solution. So something, that you need another tool. Because when you talk about the society, when you take into account the whole society, when you divide the society in terms of, that series of, that stages, maybe on the basis of mode of production. Ladies and gentlemen, you might be aware, you talk about hunting and food gathering society in the beginning, right? Food gathering society. Then you call traditional agrarian society. Then you talk about, industrial society. Then you talk about, the post-industrial. So this is in continuum, evolution on the basis of mode of production. Of course, here, what sort of, social control mechanism could have been practiced? How they regulated their own society? Because, you might be aware, controlling or regulating the behavior of the society so that you see order in the society, stability in the society, equilibrium in the society, cohesion in the society. But, variety of tools, maybe informal tools, formal tools you're talking about. Otherwise, that there'll be chaotic situation. You might be aware. So when we talk about, that hunting and food gathering society, maybe, that you talk about the form of slavery, the brutal physical force. The master has got unlimited, the control over, the slaves, sometimes resorting to violence, beating the slaves, you might be aware. By physical force, that social, the control mechanism, that implemented there. The social sanctions, the mechanisms implemented there. But whereas, that another tool came in the world of, traditional agrarian society, we are talking about, there ultimately you talk about religion. Even the hunting and food gathering society, the physical force, apart from that, some sort of magic, even that's what Fraser says. The book Animism, you might be aware. E.B. Taylor, Fraser, you would have heard. The magic, that black magic, white magic, that you would have heard about it. We are talking about, so people are afraid of those, the forces also. The magic governed, a fear of physical force governed them. But whereas in the world of traditional agrarian society, settled agriculture, having domesticated animals, there came religion to regulate the behavior of those people. The faith, that you put in ultimately, fear of, that afraid of, that those, that God force, afraid of nature, even naturalism we are talking about. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that what happened? So when various, the inventions and discoveries came because of the intellectual revolution, ultimately the science occupied that place. Ultimately, we are talking about it. It's otherwise called MRS, magic, religion, science. The science, through its logical connectivity, show me proof attitude, empiricism, that started governing. Otherwise, the show me proof attitude, cause and effect relationship. There came the birth of law. Understood? What I'm talking about, of course, that here value systems, social norms, when they are regulated, documented, formalized, the world of science, the logical connectivity, you had a tool called law. The Qanun ultimately started, regulating the behavior of the society. But over the days, people started recognizing, as Weberian, bureaucracy said, that, all bureaucrats becoming iron cage trapped individuals, unable to move this side, that side. Because, why? The limitations. That your rules and regulations, that ultimately, that not pragmatic, and sometimes, unable to find, pragmatic solution. That's what I used to tell, that what enter, when snake enters into government office, you just imagine, especially the record room. Come on, the theory. When snake enters into government service, what happens? The government office I'm talking about, especially the record room, where you got, the very bad smell you enter. Sometimes, that you die there because of the bad smell. That's all the maintenance you might be aware. for a brief period I was in government service. Then I thrown that I did not like government culture, but that is what I'm emphasizing. When you join government service, you have to be that top level officer. Otherwise, you will be spoiled. That otherwise you will be destroyed in the very culture. Please beware of that. Otherwise, the people like us, will come out of that culture. That's different scenario. So join as IAS, IPS. That's different scenario. Everything will be under your disposal, but it's also not free from challenges. That's different argument altogether. Now, snake entered into record room, right? So what happened ultimately? The record clerk, having seen that, oh, snake came, sharp. You call sharp, na? Okay. Of course, that you also worship parallelly, Ragu, Ketu. So it is that way, that worship afraid of, plants and animals worship, part of naturalism might be. Then ultimately this, record clerk going and intimating, calling, oh, hey, come, here is. So ultimately what happened, right? So having seen that, verified, that ultimately OA taking that issue to the junior assistant in the, that next level. So junior assistant come, that in seeing that, then ultimately communicating the information to the hierarchy assistant. Then assistant seeing the same thing, ultimately communicating to the superintendent of that particular division. And he also verifies, finally taking the issue to the assistant director of that particular unit. Then ultimately, that unit assistant director taking the very issue to one, that maybe deputy director or joint director, whatever may be the hierarchy, that particular organization. So meanwhile, what happened, they started opening, that the government GO book. What, that happens, what we have to do when the snake enters into government office. Is there any GO? Come on, verify. All members are verifying. Come on. So nothing. So ultimately, this guy dialing ultimately to the particular department secretary, to the secretary. Sir, what happens to sir? That here one snake entered into our, that record room. What we should do? You don't do anything here, because we are talking about, that wildlife act and all. Anything goes wrong, that ultimately it will become great issue. It will get media attention. There are opposition parties are waiting. It is also election time. Then I have to answer my political master. Don't do anything here. So all these things are completely washed by snake. From the record clerk, the assistant, junior, OA, junior assistant, the superintendent, ultimately, the assistant director, deputy director, joint director. Oh my God, it has gone to the direct. It was keep on watching. Nobody came. They did nothing, because snake was keep on watching it. Finally, snake itself, got irritated. Nobody is coming. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't bite anybody at least. So this is how government, that departments are functioning. Ultimately, what happened, right? Instead of, that spitting venom, started spitting saliva. Who got the idea what I'm saying? Instead of spitting venom, it started spitting saliva. Who it said. Then ultimately it went off. Understand? Unable to find pragmatic, that solution, because, your law, your rules and regulation, afraid of, that losing your position, that you have to strictly adhere to the hierarchy, rule mongering, rules Ramanujam. So this is how, that when you talk about law, it has got its own limitation. Ladies and gentlemen, unable to find pragmatic solution. You understand what I'm talking about? That's why Max Weber gone to the extent of saying, that the very bureaucracy, where individuals becoming iron cage trapped individuals, unable to find pragmatic solution, too much of a limitation. The rules and regulations, hierarchy, obedience, everything. So that is why the law limits ultimately. So when that is a scenario, as that a person, part of decision making process, the crucial position, pivotal position, you are supposed to deliver goods. That demands, urgency too, the importance. There we are supposed to, that practice another tool called. Ladies and gentlemen, when you encounter limitation because of, the tool of industrial society, the post-industrial society, that's called knowledge-based society, where predominantly, that service sector organization, you might be aware, Arivarnda Samudayam in Tamil. Of course, I'm talking about the very knowledge-based society demands, that you to use your ethics. What is that ethics? Only on violation of, that law, on punishment, you feel guilty in the world of, that law. But even thinking of violating, you feel guilty, because there is a conscience in you. There is a judge in you. The world of the post-industrial society, knowledge-based society, there is no monitoring mechanism. There is no enforcing agencies at all. People have become that much mature enough. that much clarity of thoughts, that much responsibility each and every individual is practicing. So you don't need monitoring mechanism. Otherwise, they will face, the crisis of conscience. They never silence their own inner voice when the situation demands. The maturity, the clarity of thoughts, the value system, the principles, the standards for which they always, that never compromise. They are committed to the core. That is what we witness on the part of, that the post-industrial society. Do you understand? This ethics is all about the world of post-industrial society. India, that you got mixed scenario. You got tribes in the sense hunting and food gathering society. 63% of rural population engaged in agriculture, traditional agrarian society. Even India lives in villages, Mahatma Gandhi said. Even yesterday, the very birthday of, the fifth Prime Minister of India, Charan Singh, he also said, the true will, that India lives in villages. Of course, ruralized. Doesn't mean that we don't have industries. Of course, though we have got 16 to 17% of, GDP share through manufacturing sector, definitely we have industries. But it is not at the level of 35% of share of China. Of course, we have got agenda. By 2025, we have to get 25% growth in industrial sector, manufacturing sector. You might be aware. For that, we have got Make in India campaign, skill enablement, FDI, and strengthening R&D. We are working towards it. That's cool. Industrial society also. But when we are, that out of 100 rupees, what we earn, 55 rupees, from service sector. By exporting our software, consultancy, what I'm doing, educational consultancy, tourism, logistics, transportation, hoteliering, consultancy services. The very orders, BPO, KPO, through outsourcing. Yes, so we are, you understand, na? India, that, cutting across all these fields. That is the mixed nature, you understand. So that's why I'm talking about. In spite of that, the UPSC has, that introduced this subject, having recruited, because it is your ability that takes you to the greater heights. But it's your character that keeps you there forever. Your emotional intelligence that keeps you there forever. Ladies and gentlemen, this subject is all about that. Ethics is all about, that when you are perplexed, when we are confused because of the ethical dilemma, either to choose this or that, ultimately it becomes a standards or principles to guide you. There comes ethics. That is the subject matter of post-industrial society. So that, ultimately, what happens, right? You become part of the solution. It's not ideal. It is very practical and flexible. Why? It's because of the limitation you face because of the world of, law. It becomes very pragmatic solution where that ultimately practice, that you take into account, you take the hue from, that value system, the principles you got out of your character, and because of, the proper socialization and the culture of the society that went inside you. The value system you got inculcated because of the process called socialization through various agents of socialization. From a childhood, that you got internalized because you have been institutionalized. You acquired character. That is what you say your personality. So more than law, ethics is more than law. Not compromising. You got limitation on the part of the law. There comes that ethics. When you face situational dilemmas, ethical dilemmas, I'm going to enlist those dilemmas. There comes ethics to rescue. Ladies and gentlemen, do you understand what I'm talking about? Hope you understood. There are several, the topics we already discussed. The videos available. You please watch that. Every time I try to give, different, that introduction probably that may open up, that you are thinking about this particular subject. I feel, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about these standards or principles as an individual, the personal ethics, how it should be. Where we say, that truth, responsibility, that love, and peace and justice, ethics in personal, basic human values otherwise, and ethics in social relations, of course, where we talk about, Nolan Committee recommendations of UK, SI, OA, OHL, that we are going to discuss, don't worry, selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, and openness, honesty, leadership, that are all called, value systems, that are principles, that you practice when it comes to ethics in social relations as a public servant. And also ethics, that we talk about, in public administration, and where we got, code for that LCR, ITF, UNAC. I'm going to elaborate, don't worry, because we are in introduction now. You understand? So this ethics, what in personal relation, social relation, ethics in public administration, even in the environmental domain, because it's not mere restricted to the humanity alone. You apply the similar principles even beyond the human environment to flora, fauna, biotic, abiotic, and visible, invisible forms of life. That's called environmental ethics, right? It is that way. And beyond that, in what way these ethical standards that, that to be practiced at the international arena. So this is what your syllabus, ladies and gentlemen. Not only that, aptitude, attitude, and that of course emotional intelligence. This is what the whole syllabus. I think you got the idea, of course, ladies and gentlemen. So ethics, it is the subject of post-industrial society. That you are guided by your own conscience. That's what Swami Vivekananda says. Whenever you get that the conflict between heart and brain, listen to the heart. That is intuition. That is your inner voice. Don't silence the whispering inner voice, conscience that guides you, that takes you to the greater heights than the so-called, the brain. Because that intuition connected with your soul. That soul has gone, its own connection with the greater soul. You came from, the a bigger entity. You are part of the bigger entity. You are always part of the bigger picture. That is why we say when the purpose is great, the whole universe conspires in such a way so that you achieve in that particular purpose. Where there is will, there is a way, you see. When the purpose is great, everything falls in. Of course, there may be some obstacles. Don't worry, everything will be clear. Everything will fall in place. Have a hope. But my question: are you visionary? Are you with great purpose? The selfless thought we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. That it's all about that ethical path. Of course, that the principles, cutting across variety of religions, variety of thinkers, we have enriched this, the standards, the value system, principle. It is not restricted to particular religion, not particular region, or particular thinker, or particular country. Putting together, reflecting the whole humanity, applicable to even non-human environment, environmental ethics, I say. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Then I'll be connecting you with the syllabus as well as the previous year questions. Of course, finally we'll be thinking, that discussing previous year questions, how the questions are asked. Then only you will get, that's what I say. Yettu choraka kariki vadavunu in Tamil. What is the point? Whatever you prepare, you read, that should be relevant to your preparation. That your what is that? The goal of becoming officer. It's not simply wasting time. Of course. That is what I'm talking, that learning is fun. Okay, learning part, for making you understand, fun part is okay. But in what way it is going to benefit your examination? It should be result-oriented preparation. So we connect with the reality, ladies and gentlemen. And finally, the resources to be consulted. As I said, how do you say this is ethics? Because ethics are nothing but, the principles, standards, the value systems guiding you when you are perplexed, when you face ethical dilemma, when you are confused. When you've got contradictions or conflicts in life, either to just this or that, of course, you might be aware. Whenever you've got, the choices in front of you, right and comfort, please choose comfort. You lose your identity. The people have chosen comfort, they lose identity. Whether corrupt politicians, corrupt bureaucrats, corrupt corporate people, Vijay Mallya, Nero, Modi, whoever may be. The people have chosen comfort, they lost the identity because most of the best things in the world beyond comfort zone. No pain, no gain. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand the connectivity. So you got choices in front of you, right and comfort. Please choose right. You become role model. It may be paining in the beginning, but it is long lasting. Great things, will take time. There is no leadership without passion. No pain, no gain. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that if you want to shine like a sun, are you ready to burn like a sun? So all these things, completely reflecting the ethical standards. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about that. Of course, it's not Sampath saying, Success Sampath saying, the point is, it is enriched by, as I said, several religions, several thinkers all around the world. Today, our, bone of contention, that we are going to, that discuss about, Western moral thinking. When I say, the code is SP, what is that? Socrates, disciple Plato, Plato's disciple Aristotle. Today, we will be restricting our discussion to Socrates and Plato because of the time constraint. We will be discussing, Aristotle again in one more session. We need more time for that. Of course, what is that? That according to this Socrates, Plato, what is the point? Knowledge is virtue. Well, let me put it simply. You know why this guy committed mistake? That he wasn't knowing that was. That's what justification. Mummy will say, don't worry, da. Ignorant na. God says maxim. Ignorance of fact is not an excuse. Ignorance of fact is not an excuse. But ignorance is belief, the world of information technology. Because when the more information, loss of peace. That's a different scenario. The fools are very happy when intellectuals are not happy. That's different scenario I'm talking about. People with less information, because when all intellectuals are completely in doubt over a particular issue, the fools are very confident, very assertive, very decisive. But intellectuals, that ultimately what happens, that knowledge, ultimately they take, apply there, according to this theory, that principle, this principle. Too much of, because they've got variety of, frame of references. This guy, knowing nothing, the fool, immediately says, that even for wrong thing, he will argue. Yes, sir. If you correct him, he will become, that angry. When you try to correct a fool, he will become angry, emotional idiots. When intellectuals are, with full of doubts, the fools are very confident. That's what happening in today's world also. Ladies and gentlemen, when intellectuals are, that very humble, unassuming leaders without title, fools are, the dominating the roadside in the name of ministers, MLAs, MPs. You might be aware. I'm talking about errant politicians. The intellectual people are very humble. But that's what, Plato says. When you don't take part in politics, that what is the punishment? You will be governed by your own inferior. When you don't take part in politics, saying that no, it is ditch, sakade. One day, fine morning, sakade, the ditch entered into your home. The garbage just came to your home. Most of the problems in the world, not because of the violence of the worst people, but silence of the good people. Zero tolerance towards injustice should be there. So it's not, that seminar hall warrior speech. Ladies and gentlemen, it should be, that practice. That's very important. Maybe I persuade you, because I'm also going to practice. Hope you join me. Zero tolerance towards, injustice, or maybe you become whistleblower, right? But it's not free from pain. I understand, because the majority. God, that of course it has got its own mechanism to try to stop you. But that you are unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, because truth alone triumphs. Don't worry. Of course, which is not free from, that demands sacrifice, no doubt at all. Are you ready? Fasten your belt. Of course, that's Plato. Both, that of course, Socrates and Plato, Western thinkers, that Greek philosophers, you might be knowing, they said knowledge is, you are ethical person because, you got knowledge. Fools, unethical people are fools. Why this guy committed, that unethical practice, because he wasn't having knowledge. That's why you justify. To err is human being. Hello? You got your own justification. To err is human being. Even my sister used to say, see, you can't be always like this, Thambi. Whenever you are weak, உன்னை போட்டுருவான். Alerta இருக்கணும். We have to be alert for that. What is that? So when you are part of reform, when you are part of, that social cleaning mechanism, you have to be alert. It can't be done by alone. That demands team. The team of ethical people, the team of, that is what, I recall, Vivekananda's statement, Swami Vivekananda's statements. I don't want lakhs and lakhs of people, crores of people. I don't want, the few hundred, 100 people. Give me 100, strong youths, moral youths. I will change the face of India. That's, how the counter came, for Swami Vivekananda. There, why 100? There are lakhs and lakhs of youths aspiring for, that greater India, corrupt-free, the Vishwaguru India, superpower India, as Kalam, that envisioned. Can you please show me one Vivekananda? They're asking you. Aberrations are everywhere. Probably, that if you say a particular person, the ethical person, that probably you don't know the dark side of that guy. That has become order of the day. All your, that's what I faced. All my role models, that got shattered in front of my eyes. I used to tell P. Chidambaram was my role model when he was presenting budget in the parliament. The way with which, that he starts presenting budget, I used to get mesmerized. But over the days, I come to know his corruption in everything. Oh, I'm sorry. I told even the Karthi Chidambaram about that. He's MP now. So all these things I'm talking about, all your role models are getting shattered in front of your eyes. What else? So this is what knowledge is virtue. You're a virtuous person. See, the very great thing on the part of the virtuous people, they don't want any entitlement, any compensation. For Robocar, they are not waiting for your endorsement because you're a good person, you're fantastic. They don't wait for your endorsement. They're very happy and they're virtuous. Over. This is called leadership, where this is what even Dr. Kalam mentions that from the Bhagavad Gita especially, the Nishkama karma. How that when there is a plant, the plant, what happens ultimately, there comes ultimately the a flower, the bud, then flowering. Ultimately, it becomes a vegetable. Maybe that it's get ripened. Ultimately, it becomes that a particular that a fruit, whatever maybe. After that, it falls. While it is falling down from the plant without causing disturbance to the original mother plant, and the plant is also not worried. A bird flying is not afraid when when the branch of a tree is breaking. The same way, the plant is not afraid. Otherwise, that. So even the very flower or very the fruit falling from the plant, falling in such a way without affecting the original plant. That's called unassumingly. A lot of examples, that Dr. Kalam used to say how Vikram Sarabhai, that a visionary, that when failure comes, that the leader should take in, assume. When success comes, that should be passed to the team. So about the examples, you would have watched that video. Unassuming leadership. Virtuous people are very unassuming leadership. They won't say I did my government, I did everything. Pasting wall poster as if I eliminated corona. One fool, one fool minister, that in Tamil Nadu, that pasting poster everywhere. Are you aware of this? We eradicated corona. Now corona talks about mutation, a new strain in UK. Second wave we are talking about. So this is we don't know what is the origin. We are yet to be successfully overcoming the finding vaccination. This is what happening now. We won corona. What is this? Oh, that is what when all intellectuals are with full of doubts because of various perspectives and theories, fools are assertive, confident. I'm talking about, of course, let's come back. So, knowledge is virtue. The virtuous people are not waiting for anybody's endorsement, entitlement. By being virtue, they're happy. They get self-control. That is what the beauty of knowledge. That is what all about ethics. Knowledge is virtue. Virtue is otherwise ethics. The highest moral standard you call virtue. Virtuous person. You understand? So Socrates and Plato sharing the similar principle. Knowledge is virtue. You understand? We will be elaborating more. Don't worry. Finally, linking with previous questions and solutions and the resources to be consulted. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand. If you feel I'm going very faster, please the type. I'm very happy to explain again also. Don't worry. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you. I think this brief introduction is sufficient. Let me take you in. Yes, I said ethics, which is the subject of the knowledge-based society. Arivanda Samadayam. Yes, what is that? In the world of knowledge-based society, you don't need monitoring mechanism. You don't need enforcing agencies because all people are mature, ethical people. They will never violate because there is strict commitment towards the established value system or principles or standards of the society. There may be deviations, but they never compromise that standards, the principle. There may be deviation, but there will be speedy recovery. They realize immediately, oh, I'm sorry, because that's what ethics is all about. Oh, why I did? I'm a fool now. Why I behaved like this? The moment you think that way, self-introspection. That's what even Socrates says. That became previous question also. Unexamined life is unworthy of living. Go for self-introspection. Even Mahatma Gandhi went for self-introspection. That's why you talk about my experiment with the truth. My life is my message to the world. He wrote book. Will you write? He went to prostitute. Are you aware commercial sex book? He ate beef once. He smoked once. Do you have guts enough to admit your mistake? You're admitting you're virtuous person. The open book. Are you ready to undergo the self-introspection? Even the religion itself says, every religion says, religion is all about, undergoing experience. By experience, you come to know there is a God in you. You are the God. You are the representative of God or you are the God. And there are so many things, that worldly things stopping you. You just, that chisel out. You take the best statue, that out of you. That's that through maturity we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, of course. But that way, that ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about ethics, of course, that we've got variety of, that as I said, ethical dilemmas, the conflicts I'm talking about, the situational constraints otherwise. The constraints could be, this way, that you get confused, perplexed, that what to do, which side I should take. Of course, these are all the things we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, what is that? That environment versus, that development. Of course, that whether to speak in favor of, that environmental sustainability or to, that work towards, that economic development or promoting a particular section of population at the cost of environment. There comes ethical dilemma. As that ongoing protest we are talking about, of course, in the name of peasant movements, farmer movements, of course, that there is ethical dilemma. Liberalizing agriculture sector versus protecting the interest of farmers. That is another ethical dilemma. See, India should move to the next level towards capitalist economy, more reforms. Okay? When agriculture is, that no more benefiting, what is the way? How long you are going to keep on accusing agriculture is not for profit, give me subsidy? We have to do something now. So government thinking of bringing some investments from government angle, from, that economic reforms angle, that's fantastic. But from, the farmers' apprehension, otherwise, that misleading, that opposition parties and corrupt media, that they've got different agenda during election time. That's different scenario we're talking about. The government has got the responsibility of going for economic reforms. At the same time, the government should ensure through other legislations that MSP, procurement mechanism, subsidy will not be stopped. It's not only talking about, fast track, trial courts, and also they have to allay the fears and application. This is what we are talking about. So there comes ethical dilemma. Social cohesion, whether you have to speak for, that national integration, social solidarity, or to, that work towards, material development. Social cohesion, when it happens, only no section of population is left out the growth process. It is not mere economic growth. There should be, the concomitant employment generation. Otherwise, it's called jobless growth. Of course, it's very fortunate, the government of India working towards, that $5 trillion economy by 2025, you might be aware. That's Modiji's vision, you might be aware. Even the very electronic industry through mobile, that Honorable Minister Ravi Shankar also talking about that. What is that? His own portfolio itself capable of contributing $1 trillion for that. That's fantastic. Think about other portfolios. Come on. So that's realistic. They're very fortunate. They're working towards, 40 million jobs, that generation path. That's good. Fantastic. We appreciate. So otherwise, the democracy, rejection leads to isolation. If you don't take care of, a particular section of population, ultimately what will happen? They will feel, relatively deprived. And they will feel, that excluded from the mainstream. And they will form their own social movement. They will enter into protest. That's symbolic or instrumental, acting as a pressure group or interest group you're talking about. That goes against, national integration. Otherwise, that causes, that issues related to internal security. When there is no peace, ultimately that will have its own impact on material development, economic development. If there is no peace, no prosperity at all. So that's another ethical dilemma. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about, and also, that law and justice, that whether to take asylum in the name of law or to provide justice. Whether to speak, that the law is needed in the name of economic reforms, the 3 farm bills, or to, that talk about fairness, how to protect, small and marginal farmers. Even the, that when we are there to compensate the losses because of the implementation of GST Council for the states, can't we do the same thing for Punjab and Haryana? Because they created robust APMC marketing mechanism, 3,500 crores, revenue loss. They are saying it is a simple money, na, when it comes to, the size of the government. Why can't you do, fairness there? It is that way I'm talking about, that in what way we ensure, that the protection of small and marginal farmers, it's not taking simply asylum. Otherwise, of course, I understand all archaic, obsolete, outdated laws should be thrown away. Because we have to perform, otherwise we have to perish. I understand the government's, that war footing agenda, fantastic. And what is the use of having law when people are against it? Because that's why we say Supreme Court judgment, when there is, a law without social sanction, ineffective. Even whether it is Sabrimala issue, a law should be, after a law should reflect the, the intentions of the people. When intentions of the people are different, when law is different, that it's almost like Navagraha traveling in different directions. What is the use? And there is no, so that demands, the government should work more in disseminating information that will never, go against farmers. That they have to allay the fear or apprehensions on the part of the farmers. It's not simply justifying, that the laws, the qanuns in the name of, the economic reforms are taking, the material development or towards, that working towards, double-digit GDP or $5 trillion economy by 2045. That demands some sort of consensual mechanism we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So, ethical dilemma, whether to take asylum in law or to speak fairness on the part of, different stakeholders. The same way, it is not always talking about, that rights. As a citizen of India, I've got my own right. Hello, you got reasonable restrictions also. No doubt, fundamental rights, part of the Constitution, 12 to 35 articles we have. No doubt, when you feel, that while your fundamental rights are, encroached upon, of course, you got Article 32, heart and soul of the Constitution, as said by Ambedkar, even 226 ultimately, to enforce through writ jurisdiction your fundamental rights, but reasonable restriction. The way with which what you speak should not incite communal violence, should not polarize people. The reasonable restriction. Anything goes against public decency, morality, whatever you speak, vulgarity, it has got its own consequence. So, that before you question the government in terms of your fundamental right, have you discharged your duties, your obligations? That is why the Constitution has got, the fundamental rights, parallelly fundamental duties. Rights and duties go together. They are like two sides of a single coin. கடமையை செய்வதிலிருந்தே உரிமைகள் பிறக்கின்றன. It's in Tamil. Only by discharging your obligations, duties, you got right to the question anybody. Don't ask what the nation has done to you. Please ask yourself what you have done to the nation, what you have contributed to the nation. Whenever I question, whenever I, point finger at someone else, already 3 fingers looking at me. I can't throw stone at others when I'm living in glass houses. The courage, when it comes, only when you are principled, only when you practice standards, values. All leaders, Mahatma Gandhi practiced ahimsa, non-violence with courage. Why? That's why he was called Mahatma. He stood for value system, principles that demanded sacrifice. Gave up everything. Renunciation, the essence of, that Bhagavad Gita, Nishkama Karma. Ready to suffer. Unassuming leadership. Talking about that way, that's why he was Mahatma. Prior to that, we had another Mahatma. Satyasodak Samaj, Jyotiba Phule or Jyotirao Phule. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So when there is, that conflict between, of course, that ethical dilemma, competition versus compatibility. At the international, that environmental domain we are talking about, the global climatic conferences, you might be aware. United Nations Environment Program, United Nations Framework Convention on Climatic Change, Conference of Parties meeting. Of course, you speak about, Montreal Protocol, Rio de Janeiro. And also, Japan Kyoto Protocol, where, that there came ultimately collective but differentiated responsibility. So the pollution emission level of each and every nation should get, that mitigated, reduced to the pre-19, 50% of reduction, mitigation to the pre-1990 level. Okay, all industrial countries, you got established industries, you got the responsibility. Now you got money, you got technology, you can go for it. Think about developing countries, underdeveloped countries who are all yet to establish factories. If you go with these standards, can they do it? Do they have technology? Do they have money? So you share the technology, you share the money, you also share more time with them. They are not, that your level. It's not level playing field. It's not saying that, we all have collective responsibility. We have to, mitigate this, the polluting, greenhouse gases, so that, that we provide solution to the, that global warming. Fantastic, but it is not compatible. Developing countries are not compatible with developed countries. Underdeveloped countries are not compatible with developing countries. Given that scenario, different yardsticks for different occasions. That is what leadership. If you evaluate fish in terms of climbing tree, throughout the life, the fish will think it's a fool. Polluter must pay. Who asked all these questions? You developed countries when you were trying to establish industries or polluting the atmosphere. There comes, compatibility. So, that it is not saying that, we have to compete each other in fulfilling the task. Of course, is it compatible? We are talking about, that even in India, that the economic growth, it's not a growth of, a section of population. Are we taking everybody on board? Otherwise, that the growth theory is the growth benefits of the growth. Is it percolating down to everybody? It's that way, level playing field. Even reservation is getting justified that way. Protective discrimination we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about politics, that just now I spoke. When intellectuals are with full of, the doubts, fools are with, that assertiveness. Huh? We're talking about that. It is that way. The politics, of course, politics per se, fantastic. A noble profession. The politicians, bad politicians, bad elements, the politicians with criminal antecedents, the corrupt politicians, the nexus between criminals and politics, even Vora, no more, a great leader. Of course, that he became, the committee, Vora committee recommendation that analyzed nexus between criminals and politicians. You might be aware. We talk about when that is a scenario. You talk about politics for self-expediency. Politics, the process of politics should benefit people, should make difference in the lives of Aam Aadmi. Whenever you got doubt, of course, again, Mahatma Gandhi ji, you can take example. He said, whenever you got doubt, that the very scheme or policy, what you think right, at all you got doubt. Whenever you do something, part of, that a public service, whenever you develop some sort of doubts or confusion, am I doing right? Am I traveling in the right path? Think about the poorest of the poor or in your own jurisdiction. Anything what you do, is it going to benefit that the poorest of the poor? Aam Aadmi, you are exactly on track. That is what it should be: inclusive politics, inclusive governance. That should not lead to social exclusion. Then situation is highly potential for revolution, protest that affects internal law and order, peace. That goes against prosperity, then happiness of the whole nation. So the politics, the purpose of the politics to deliver good governance, effective governance, ethical governance, where you move from mere IQ to EQ. That's what today. I'm to some extent fan of Madam Kiran Bedi. I used to, in every session I mention because I know her, personally met her. She is that in everyday interaction, that in social network also. The judicial activism came, that there came ultimately through the Chennai High Court, of course, the judicial pronouncement, that the Sani Payarchi in Tirunallar, the Karaikal region, which is part and parcel of Union Territory, the Puducherry administration, you might be aware, and instructing the very court direction in such a way to the Chief Secretary of the Puducherry, including the administrator, Lieutenant Governor, Madam, Kiran Bedi. And she is reading that line by line. She is reading, saying that I'm towards Karaikal. The court has said, before 12 o'clock, it should be reported in what are all the preparatory measures, given the Korana. The very diktat passed by the judge, the court called judicial activism. It's ultimately, that's towards good governance, where judiciary people, the people part of, bureaucrats coming together in delivering the goods to the people. That's good governance. That where you see another important, element. What is that? So the Kiran Bedi madam, that revealing that and showing that I'm heading towards that. I'm going to do this. That talks about transparency. Whatever I do, let me reveal. And at the end of the day, I'm in public service. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is opaque. Everything is transparent. So that's the transparency, responsibility, accountability. These are all the elements of good governance we are talking about. Of course, it is beyond that ethical governance. You are not that stopped by the limitations of the law. You rather try to use that becomes supplementary, a complementary rather. An optimist will see solution for every problem. A pessimist will see problem for every solution. We are all optimists. That's why we see solution there. So this is what we are talking about. The people part of that. Of course, I say administration, politics. They're supposed to practice these standards, principles. It's not mere good governance. Now it becomes ethical governance. because you feel responsible, where you are ready to connect even corporate people, multiple stakeholders, civil society, under corporate social responsibility, corporate sponsorship will be there. It is not saying that we have got fund limitation, we can't do nothing. She connects everything there. That's fantastic. I'm talking about even through Better India today. The 10 list of Indian administrators, IAS, IPS, IFS officials who joined service recently. Those kids have done fantastic, marvelous job. I appreciate it today. The social network I'm talking about. That in cutting, the length and breadth of the country, that how they made difference in the lives of so many people. Please reach me there. Social network I'm talking about through Better India article. Appreciating those, the young aspirants I'm talking about. It is not waiting for it is not citing government limitation, everything. That when the task is to be part of solution, to provide solution, you are no way, that affected by anybody. You are always, that everything falls in place. That's what I say. That the whole universe will conspire in such a way so that you achieve the task I'm talking about. So why the very strong principles, standards to deliver the goods for the people, to be part of the solution? Then it is, that of course, that you strictly adhere to. Otherwise, it goes again. It becomes one of the 7 sins according to the Mahatma Gandhi. Politics without, the morality principles. Yes, social mobility versus equity. That equity, when you say that, just now I said, you can't expect fish to climb the tree. Saying that, you see, monkey is climbing tree, you don't know how to climb a tree, you are a fool. But you can train yourself. If not today, at least in 2 years, you will become, that good at climbing tree. What is this? Eh? This is what a system, this is what a mechanism, I say. Fools. When fools devise the system, this is what will happen, I say. You should know, fish should be evaluated in terms of, how depth it can swim, how long it can be, that how fast it can swim, the longevity, are ready to face all those, that the challenges like tsunami and, cold current, warm current, whatever may be. That's, those are all different parameters when you want to evaluate fish. It can't be, it's not just comparing with monkey. That's what I'm saying. So the people are not one and same. People, each and every person is unique. Each and every section of population is unique. The problems are unique. So the people hitherto oppress, suppress, you have to understand. For that, that you should have empathy. You have to sympathize. For that, you should be sensitive. Have passion or compassion towards people. Then only you can understand. If I were in, you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, then as I said, the Better India appreciating those 10 young administrators. Fantastic. I appreciate it today. I felt very happy. The positive impact, the dent on people, and that too reaching the very needy people. One girl, Divya, in Telangana, I think that IAS officer, that girl, Divya Devraj, I believe, is IAS. He learned Gondi language in Telangana in 3 months to mingle with the people. Oh my God, that's fantastic. That one guy, that some 14 times, that he increased the, the cost of the sale of, the chili powder in northeastern state. That ultimately something, that they sold for, that 100, the 70 to 100 rupees per kg, the chili powder, they started selling in the market, that by storage facility, by creation of storage facility. That ultimately they sold for, that 700 to 800, that rupees. You just see. That's fantastic. We are talking about ultimately, that so many, that the stories like that. You please understand. You go through that article. That's what I'm saying. Like people like that Dr. Kiran Bedi and so many people I'm talking about. They're making difference. That's why India. In spite of all those rubbish activities by bad politicians and corrupt, the bureaucrats, still the nation moving ahead. Why? It's because of those great people. Be optimistic in identifying those people. Right person for the right post. To be part of the solution I'm talking about. So when you understand all these unique problems on the part of different sections of the people, you will justify definitely the protective discrimination. It is not citing Article 14, 15, Article 14 right to equality, Article 15 prohibition, that of all-round discrimination. Oh, even Article 15 within bracket 4, 16 within bracket 4, as I told you, right? Article, that the 17, 18, 24, 29, 13, 45, 275, 164, 338, 3, all section I'm saying, all articles, 340, 342, 5th schedule, 6th schedule, the 73rd, 74th constitutional amendment, 1/3 of reservation for women, Panchayat Extension Services Act, Article 243, Everything, various schemes and policies, you protect people. Positive discrimination, you justify reservation. Why? The, historical wrongs. Justice, social justice, fairness, equity. It is not, all are equal, but that the unique problems you have to understand that demand sensitivity on your part. It is not saying that, that then only there will be social mobility. It is in the name of social mobility. It's not focusing, it is not in the name of social progress or economic development. It's not mere focusing on corporate world. And you have to parallelly balance the, with other sectors, manufacturing sector, not, the very agriculture sector and their problems, what's happening there, and also the poor people, downtrodden people, minorities, women, transgender, child laborers, and also physically differently abled people. Even the judgment recently delivered by the Supreme Court, that equating physically, that differently abled people can be equated on par with the SC/ST in terms of reservation. That judgment is about, that all about equity. We are all human beings, but everybody is unique. The problems are unique. It's not level playing field. So that's talking about, equity, different yardsticks for different occasion. In the name of, that growth, you can't justify all our, that mistakes we are talking about. And also, as I said, good governance. It's not mere transparency, responsibility, accountability. And also, you move from, mere IQ to EQ. It is not mere good governance. You go to ethical governance in the sense, you expect corporate social responsibility, that the practice by, the very corporate. You took away out of the resources, out of that region. You pay back, you show gratitude. And also, you scientists, it's not simply wasting money in the name of research. Is it benefiting the humanity? Is it taking the, the humanity to the next level for their betterment? Scientific social responsibility. This is about, the ethical governance we are talking about, that where you practice, that you are not stopped by law. You don't talk about limitations of the law. You go beyond that. You make it practical. You make it flexible in delivering justice that reaches, the poor. Say, for example, that's what I'm talking about. In the name of law, when a widow, a lady, orphan lady comes and standing in front of you, you are the district, the collector there, without documents. She, that she is trying to jump into your convoy when you are, rushing towards somewhere, trying to commit suicide. What will happen? You stop the car immediately. Ultimately, you were, the guards, the policemen going and, ultimately beating that lady. You stop. No. Come on, lady. What happened? Why you gone to the extent of, committing suicide? What happened? Then she says, I don't have any document, everything. That my sons, that took away all my money. My relatives took away all my money. I got cheated. I was thrown out. I have nothing. When I come to office, people are not allowing me to enter into office also to what to do. I have no hope. I thought of, the dying. So that way I jumped into the car. Then ultimately, that district collector understood the gravity of the situation. Immediately asking his, that nodal officers, PAs, what happened, right? Immediately arranged through any schemes, ultimately, right? She may be given a sari, some, that some nearby homes, the accommodation, good food, ultimately, that asking, that the locality of that particular lady, and asking those tahsildars, the deputy tahsildars, VAO to come to the place immediately, inquire the case, and verify her, that nativity. If her properties were, taken away by their own, her own sons or daughters, they should be returned immediately. Otherwise, create the documents so that, she becomes beneficiary of, that all those schemes. It is not violating law. That it's more than law. The situation prompts you to be part of the solution. Taking advantage of the situation, you understand how many, that elders are with this problem in this district. Let me meet every week on Sunday, 2 hours, 3 hours, those people. It is that way. It is a tip of an iceberg. Ultimately, that all elders in that particular district locality of yours, they live, that happily, without problems. Probably because of that, you became sensitive, practice compassion. It's not simply saying that punish that lady who tried to jump, ultimately commit suicide. It would have, becoming emotional. Ultimately, you practice emotional intelligence. Understood the gravity of the situation. It's not complicating the situation. You simplified the situation. Understood the tip of an iceberg. You became part of the solution. The problems are opportunities. Wonderful opportunities to be part of the solution. It is that way I'm talking about. Then it is ethical governance. You understand, ladies and gentlemen. So this ethics is all about, I'm keep on repeating, of course, you might be aware. Ladies and gentlemen, this is right time. Let me take you to the next level. This involve the ethical dilemmas you understand, you encounter. Ultimately, ethics, guiding you depending upon the sphere. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what syllabus expecting you to show an attitude and approach to the issues relating to integrity, probity in public life, and also to be part of the solution, to the various issues and conflicts faced by you as an individual while dealing with society. Do you understand? That the case studies you witness, this is what brief description about the syllabus. Otherwise, that the syllabus headings I've given, you can download the original syllabus from upsc.gov.in, ladies and gentlemen. So ethics and human interface, attitude and aptitude, foundational values, emotional intelligence, because that it's not your ability, it's at the end of the day, how do you handle your emotions and emotions of others. Then ultimately you become, that achieve that particular purpose. This concept, of course, the Daniel Goleman, Peter Salovey, John Mayer, we already discussed. You please watch that videos. Emotional intelligence. It's your ability that takes you to the greater heights, but it's your emotional intelligence that keeps you there forever. So we don't want your mere IQ. You are supposed to have emotional quotient. How to gel with others. How capable you are in gelling with others. That takes you to the next level we are talking about. So the public, that civil service values, ethics in public administration, probity in governance, for all these topics, finally case studies. This is what your syllabus, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is right time. Let me take you to the, the Western moral thinkers, the principles, standards, what we are talking about, part of ethics and integrity, the contributions from several thinkers, several religions. That became subject matter. So in that line, we are going to discuss, that today, the Western moral thinkers, two people, Socrates and Plato. Of course, that's what I said in the beginning. It's otherwise called virtue ethics. Knowledge is virtue. Why you are committing mistakes? No? Because you don't know. Because you don't have awareness about the principles or values, the standards part of the society. That is why come to know, come to learn. Otherwise, you will be, that unethical guy. That's the meaning. Knowledge is virtue. The awareness leads you to be a good man. Otherwise, the unethical activity, what you do because of unhealthy soul. If you are a virtuous person, because it is healthy soul. It is that way they make statements. That is what we are going to discuss. So, it's called virtue ethics in the sense, virtue. What is virtue? If you ask me, it's otherwise high moral standards. Morality. What is right in that particular action? You got choices. Right and wrong. Right and wrong or right and comfort. Always choose right. But there is no absolute right in the world. What is right in one place is wrong in another place. What is right in one time is wrong in another time. The context decides. The contextual specificity, cultural relativism I am talking about. Nothing is absolutely correct or nothing is absolutely wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, that way we are talking about. So, high moral standards we are talking about, the virtue ethics, that Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, but our discussion, Socrates, Plato, they are otherwise called Epicureans. Who are all called Epicurean? Epicurus. I think you would have watched movie, Troy, I believe. That talks about, the Greek kingdom. Athens, Greek, Sparta kingdom, or Rome. I think, that you please watch those movies, the Troy, you will understand how the Greek kingdoms were. The Epicurus, they call Epicurus, Achilles. That way, Epicureans, who are all called Epicureans? They are called disciple or student of Epicurus. The Epicurus, otherwise called a great philosopher. Who, that how the Epicureans, if you ask me why they are called Epicureans, person devoted to sensual enjoyment, comfort-loving people. We say Swagavasi. Even while going for walk, I used to avoid people while going for walk. That guy will say, I watched that movie, I went to that hotel, I ate this thing, that all, consumerism. Oh my God. I used to, that scold my friends of the, hey, whoa, where you got this guy? Simply talking about consumerism. So comfort loving guy. Of course, when you want that information is precious. When you don't want, not be, that thrust upon. Talking about, that the consumerism tendency, you get tired because of that. I want to be part of production always, that maybe my conscience never allows me to speak more about, because, that becomes mean, that's all. Means for me, okay, but I don't tolerate that. Toleration in the sense, why, completely occupied with, even my friends, at the end of the day, Sampath, we have to live comfortably. What comfort? Comfort at the cost of what? It is not individual comfort. It should be parallelly comfort for the society also. Then that's great. It is not talking about individual, the comfort we are talking about. So sensual enjoyment, sophisticated people they are called. Person devoted to sensual wine and dine culture. That's what, Greek Rome. Even, the Greek, When you talk about European Union, you might be aware. You got in India, Bhimarao states, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Odisha, loss-making states you call, that otherwise the growth story of western and southern states completely eaten away by your Bhimarao. All is not well here. The heart is weak. India heart is weak. Once upon a time, it was Chota Nagpur Plateau, a mineral-rich region. That's why the coal, that all those, that industries, iron ore industries are there. And most of the kingdoms, fought for control over that Mahajanapadas. Today, you talk about that particular region, that is called, a troublesome region. What is that? Bhimarao state. All social indicators at the low level. Some states are for development, that's different scenario. All growth story of India, the western and southern states whose parameters can be equated with, European countries, the success story completely eaten away by Bhimarao state, pulling us down. That's why fight between, the western and southern states versus, the Bhimarao states when it comes to Niti Aayog summit or even, that finance commission report or whatever it may be, the finance commission article 280 or, that and different meetings we are talking about, center state financial relations. The same way European state, you got PIGS nation. What is PIGS? The Portugal, Italy, Greece, Spain. PIGS. The Greece, what happened? All these nations ultimately pulling down the very European Union and its growth story. Why? Because, that these guys are, that ultimately became bankrupt. Their public debt, beyond that. We have got, 60% almost public debt. But, Greece had public debt to the tune of 360% of its GDP. 360%, you just imagine. Because why? See the photo, how Socrates? Wine and dine culture. Fortunately, I have chosen, see, wine. Huh? Oh my God, that's, Greek, Rome culture. Wine and dine, that. Otherwise, you got movie song, maybe Tamil people. Kalai Japanil coffee, Malai New Yorkil cabaret. Iravil Thailandil Jali. This is old song, Rajini song, very famous. I don't know how people from other states, that talks about, the guy, comfort loving guy, going from here to there, enjoy everything in different parts of the world. They are called sophisticated people, pleasure seeking people, hedonism, sensual pleasure, wine and dine culture. There is a movie, that eat, pray, love. It is that way. Eat, love, pray. That there is also book, movie, and everything we are talking about. So, that it is almost like, sensual pleasure. They are called Epicureans, especially from fine food and drink. We are talking about it. They are called Epicureans. So, virtual ethics of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, they are called Epicureans, and also Stoicism. I'm going to talk about that later. So, these Epicureans also call, hedonism, pleasure-seeking principle. Pleasure is better than pain. That notion. They are also called, that Sybarite and voluptuary pleasure seeker, sensualist Epicureans. So, virtue ethics of, that Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, they are also called Epicureans. It's also called Stoicism. And before going there, rectitude. It talks about the virtue or rectitude. What is rectitude? It's talking about morally, what is morally correct behavior in the particular act. It is, the troubleshooting at the thought level. வெள்ளத்தனையது மலர் நீட்டம் மாந்தர்தம் உள்ளத்தனையது உயர்வு. There is a Tirukural in Tamil. The lotus flower, its height, the stem, that below the water, that it's always floating on water. The stem you would have seen, you don't know what is the length of the stem. But, it's the level of the floor, the level of the flower is always, based on the level of the water. வெள்ளத்தனையது மலர் நீட்டம். It's totally depending on the level of the water, that you see the level of the flower on the surface of water. The same way, that வெள்ளத்தனையது மலர் நீட்டம் மாந்தர்தம், all human beings, உள்ளத்தனையது உயர்வு. Your growth is completely depending on your thought process, your heart, ullam, heart, intuition, conscience, your moral behavior, rectitude, virtue. Your attitude decides your altitude. That's all. So, morally correct behavior, the thinking, righteousness. That's what, Dr. Kalam. There is another question in UPSC, quoting the same, that you would have, I think I would have spoken already. My madam, Rahila Bilal madam, when I was doing engineering, she's a fantastic lady. Now she's principal there. Rahila Bilal madam, that she's HOD. I say HOD. She was HOD when I was doing engineering. Became HOD from lecturer. Then she is now principal. I remember keys this way. You got your own. privilege to keep in your mind. So what is that? This is Dr. Kalam's quote. What is that? Rahila Bilal ma'am. What is that? Where there is righteousness in the heart, there will be beauty in the character. Where there is beauty in the character, there will be harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there will be order in the nation. When there is order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. Apart from learning from my ma'am, I should thank ma'am. She helped. See, a teacher is always teacher. Even I'm out of that institution, she's helping me to her. Oh, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma. So what is that? So Rahila Bilal, ma'am, HOD, HOP, I say. It's my code. You have your own code. It's up to you. Maybe that RCB. There is no RCB. Right. So we talk about what is this is Dr. Kalam's code. So righteousness on the part of an individual. Dharma. The thinking of righteousness. How your thinking process leading to global peace. Just see, he connects individuals, that the thinking process, thought process, dharma with global peace. You understand what I'm talking about? It is that way. So morally correct behavior, we are talking about the thinking righteousness, that's all about virtue. So we are talking about Socrates and Plato, Western thinkers. Virtue ethics, it's otherwise called. What is virtue? High moral standards. We are talking about, they are otherwise called Epicureans because the nature of the society, sophisticated people. And Stoicism, what is that? We are going to take you to the next level. Yes, we also talk about Stoicism. The virtue ethics of, that Socrates, Plato, Aristotle are Epicureans. Stoicism. Stoic, it's a school of, that the Greek philosophy. The Roman, that and Greek world we are talking about until 3rd century AD. We are talking about a Hellenistic philosophy. It's called School of Hellenistic Philosophy, otherwise called Stoicism we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a philosophy of personal ethics, that we are talking about. It's also, these are all the attributes on the part of, the Western moral thinkers. The virtue ethics we are talking about. A system of logic and its views on the natural world. It talks about logical connectivity. Yes, of course, maybe you talk about the origin of science here, a system of logic and its views on natural, the Stoicism. You understand that? It is not wine and dine culture alone. Of course, they are not mere sophisticated people also. They also said, knowledge is virtue, high moral behavior. Rectitude, the Stoicism, the philosophy of personal ethics. What is that? The system of logic. They speak, that ultimately, that, of course, of course, maybe drunkards, that they speak lot of theories. I hear even T.T. Rajan, he used to speak that way. His own uncle, that when he takes 2 to 3 rounds, that a lot of ideas will come out of him. Even, that the Sadhguru used to talk about that. You go and disturb that guy, the smoking. Why? Because of that guy gave idea. We saved, 1,000 crores. There are some people always, out of system, but they are not part of the system. They'll be out of system, but maybe indiscipline also. But their impact on the system, sometimes that their suggestion, recommendation becoming the solution for the system, so that you save money, that you streamline the society. That is the way. The yogi, jnani, you can't bring. Sometimes that's why that all those agoris. If you go to North India, you see that all those agoris, how they are. They sometimes cannibalism. The dead bodies they eat, but they'll be simply telling. The system of logic, maybe I bring a correlation, otherwise parallelism with this Epicureans. Stoicism, the philosophy of personal ethics, the system of logic and its views on natural world we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to the next level. Yes, sir. What about why is are you that this is called xenocentrism, sir? We're always, they're talking best about Western world, Western countries, developed countries. What's in UK? UK now mutation, second wave corona, new strain. That it's shut down. It's not, but the sympathies with. It's not always speaking in favor of Western countries or developed countries. Are you belittling our native indigenous culture? No, it's not. The same spirit you witness with Indian writings also, Indian philosophy, the values and ethical, that can be equated with that, the Greek and Rome, the philosophies in the contemporary Indian philosophy through writings of, Mahatma Gandhi ji, Swami Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo of Pondicherry, you might be aware, Sri Rabindranath Tagore of Gitanjali, you might be aware, and Dr. Radhakrishnan, Sarvapalli. who rose to the level of president. You might be aware. So we are through writings of all these, eminent people, you come to know, that Indian philosophy. Of course, that, and they never hesitated to quote the ancient Vedas, Rik, Yajur, Sam, Atharva. That, and also Upanishads. I'm going to explain, and even they touch the Bhagavad Gita, the Nishkama Karma. So the similar to that particular philosophy, the virtue, that ethics, that you also, that witness in contemporary Indian society through writings of all our, eminent people, statesmen. You come to know it's not, that ethnocentrism. I'm not talking about xenocentrism. I'm not talking about ethnocentrism. I'm talking about cultural relativism, cultural parallelism. Otherwise, the same idea, even Sri Ramana Maharishi speaks that way. So the truth is always same, but you see different manifestations. The name of, that different religion, different paths, different sect, different cult, different denomination, different philosophies, different perspectives, but truth is always same. Paths are different, destination is. This is what enlightenment. It is that way I'm talking about, the same ideas in different, that places, the different parts of the world in different time period, but ideas same. The virtue ethics we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to the next level. What is that? What is Upanishads? Upanishad. Ultimately, the sacred Hindu treatises we are talking about, the text, of course, that written in Sanskrit verses we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, it's between 800 to 200 BC. Just brief, what are all the words I write, that I discuss with you. I got the responsibility to explain you. It's not taking for granted, that, of course, there comes my responsibility. That, ladies and gentlemen. So what is this, Upanishads? If you ask me, it is expounding Vedas, doing research on Vedas, exploring the Vedas, going deep, that in Vedas, that how, where you come to know predominantly in mystical and monistic terms. Mystical miracles you might be. Monistic terms, of course, that everything is one. It is that way we talk about, ladies and gentlemen. So it is exploring Vedas, whatever may be, the Hindu treatises, that Upanishads, that we talk about, where you also witness this philosophy, the Greek philosophy, the virtue ethics, what you have seen, the same thing you witness here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is, that right time, let me take you to the next level, that 8 seconds. You can also refresh yourself parallelly, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, and let me elaborate, very Socrates and his antecedent. Of course, background, right? Born in Athens, Greece, you might be aware, Athens city, Greece, 469 AD. The first systematic and moral thinker, that ultimately, that you have to understand. Of course, we have got parallelism in Indian scenario through Vedas, Upanishads, that's a different scenario. So the very period is otherwise called the period of great cultural expansion. What do you call Renaissance here in India? The same way, period of great cultural expansion there, Renaissance. But what happened? Socrates was accused of corrupting youth because he questioned the logical connectivity. Don't accept everything as they are. You question. Ultimately, what will happen? The establishment. That's what happened to Karl Marx. Everywhere he will go against, the capitalistic establishment. Then ultimately, they will come together. Ultimately, there will be court passing the judgment, banishing him, and he will ultimately go argue everywhere. And that the judge will, the stand firm his seat and say that very enlightened lecture, sir. Thank you so much for enlightening. But we are extremely sorry you have been already banned. And also, the people, Indian celluloid world got inspired by that. Of course, in Tamil Nadu, the movie called Parasakti came. Odinan, Vodkin, Vorathuke Odinan. It's all arguments, court arguments of Karl Marx. The same thing in movies you witness. When you go against, the establishment, the incumbency factor, that when you go for anti-incumbency factor, naturally what will happen? Of course, that he was accused of corrupting youth. He is brainwashing youth, contaminating the young minds. Even today in India, you witness that the urban nationals, but the people with that ideologies. And of course, opposition is part of democracy. Of course, government has to answer that. And that there is also criticism against that you have intolerance towards that alternative opinion. And of course, government is correcting now, I believe. So accused of corrupting youth and impiety towards God. The way with which you speak, ultimately they become ultimately they become atheistic. Otherwise, they are not pious. They become impiety. The reverence goes down towards the gods because this guy start appealing in the name of, as he said, stoicism, appealing in the name of logical connectivity. that appreciating the principles of nature, whatever it may be. So the personal ethics, everything. So accused of corrupting youth or questioning the fundamentals of the faith. So he was accused of contaminating or corrupting or brainwashing the youth, and impiety towards the God. Ultimately, what happened? And why? Because he argued against illa. As I argue, we always argue against. We question everything. Nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the system. Even Supreme Court judgment. No man is above the system. No man is beyond the law. What is that? He argued against illogical reasoning and also prejudice. Question. Even in previous video, I said, ஏன் என்ற கேள்வி இங்கு கேட்காமல் வாழ்க்கை இல்லை. MGR song. There is no life without questioning why. And don't say why not. Another $1 billion question. Yes, here, what is that? What is the fabric you witness? All of his contribution, Socrates' contribution of more of ethical than scientific. And because of the thing, he questioned, that based on logical connectivity, don't bring him under, that science, logical connectivity, everything. And beyond that, he spoke about virtue, high moral behavior, rectitude that demands knowledge, the presence of the principle standards. So ethical, his contribution is more of ethical than scientific. When you say scientific, you talk about logical connectivity, cause and effect, show me proof attitude, then outcome law. That his contribution is more of ethical, which is more than law, byproduct of the world of science, scientific temperament, byproduct of stoicism. Yes, so he did not sympathize with ascetics, that he believed in enjoying life. Kalavum kattrumara, in Tamil there is a saying, enjoy. Wine and dine culture, maza aega. It is that way, na? Kana bina sona. You talk about it is that way. So he did not sympathize with the people practicing simplicity, austerity. Even that Dr. Ambedkar was questioned. You are for the plight of depressed classes, but you are with that full of that fantastic dress and coat shoot, that which is costly. Even Prime Minister Modi ji was criticized, that the very, so what? As a Prime Minister, he is representing India. Let him wear fantastic dress, na? Otherwise, that what world will think, na? This guy coming from a poor fellow coming from poor country, na? If you are not taking care of yourself, what is the guarantee that you will be taking care of the nation? Let him wear. After all, he is representing India. He is our great uncle, na? Hello? People intolerance, I am answering. Let him, he is after all Prime Minister. After all his sacrifice, let him wear good dress. Okay, so B.R. Ambedkar was questioned, that you are fighting for the cause of depressed section, but you wear coats suit, that whereas Mahatma Gandhi, see, he gave up everything. He's wearing dhoti. He was once criticized in second roundtable conference also by, the Winston Churchill. You are off naked fakir, but you are with this, that bombastic dress style. So Ambedkar's reply, you might be aware. I understand. My people are poor, depressed classes. If I start again wearing, the same way, I don't inspire them. But see, I am the source of inspiration for them, role model. You work hard, you can also come from the ashes to, this level. Rags to riches. It's not richness, but that you can grow to the leadership level if you work hard. So I want to be a source of inspiration. I don't want to mislead my people. That's what Dr. Ambedkar stated. Are you aware of this? So nothing wrong, that in dressing, that fantastic, after all, when it is, that going to be your hard-earned money, so what? Nothing wrong. At the same time, that because you become source of inspiration, you dress well, you should become, source of inspiration for others. It's not, in the name of ascetic, that austere, the way with which you dress should not, disturb others. That's different scenario. Even Ratan Tata criticized, that Ambani, you got this many storied building, against that, the Asia's largest slum, given social inequality. That's dangerous. That's not, well advised. That's, that Ratan Tata's statement advice to, that, Mukesh Ambani, I heard once. That's different scenario. So we are talking about, so Socrates did not sympathize with ascetics or people practicing austerity or monk's life, that, so they, actually he believed in enjoying life. See how he enjoys, wine and dine culture. So because not only that, why? You have to experiment everything. Even religion says, self-experience. Unexamined life is unworthy of living. You examine everything. Finally, you come to know it. It is not without tasting. You should not simply carry forward somebody else's opinion. You should undergo. You should experience. Then only it is real. It's not carrying forward somebody else. Even while carrying forward quote, I will put into test. Do I enjoy? Do I cherish? Otherwise, I won't carry forward. If I'm not enjoying, I won't carry forward. When I say I'm enjoying, I endorse, I subscribe the view. But that's not permanent. That may also change because change is permanent. We evolve day by day. We commit mistakes, we evolve. Ultimately, we move to the next level. And there we commit, a next level of mistakes. We learn out of it. Then we move to the next level. That's what the error is human being. No. The evolve is human being. Evolving nature we are talking about. So, that unexamined life is unworthy of living. Kalavum katru mara, we are talking about it. It's not, that I'm not asking you, that, but there are some experiences, that it's not by putting your finger on, that a flame and saying, yeah, I'm hurt. I'm not talking about that experience, of course. But there are some experiences you have to understand, undergo on your own, then when you will feel. That religion is also, they're talking about self-realization, not carrying forward somebody else's message. Right? Unexamined life is unworthy of living. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And what happened, right? That the very sophists, contemporary teachers, willing to argue either side of any controversy. That as you have modern day practice lawyer, even Jethmalani, that once there was algebra summit. I think you can watch in that YouTube. That algebra summit. That all think tanks in India will be coming there. In Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, even Dr. Sashi Tharoor, and once Ram Jethmalani. Once that there was another meeting where Ram Jethmalani and Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, Mr. Ram Jethmalani is no more. You might be aware. A great that lawyer of the nation. You might be aware. His oratorial skills fantastic. What happened, right? Where BJP leaders go and touch his feet to join, ask him to join the party. That and all the things happen. Such is the great stature. And that's a different story. That when there was a talk discussion in that particular forum, and Dr. Subramanian Swamy was given one topic, and that of course this is about abrogation of Article 370. He immediately asked, should I speak in favor of it or against it? That was the question of that Dr. Mr. Jethmalani. Are you aware of this? See the stature of that person. He is ready to argue any case because he is lawyer. He is capable of arguing both sides. Oh my God! He openly admitted, that though I'm, that 80, I'm like, that 18. I can enjoy like 18. That is the statement he made. Professed. You please watch that. I'm not sending unethical story behind. The point is that that as established, that lawyer capable of arguing both sides. That such is the the capability, the command over that knowledge I'm talking about. So sophists or contemporary teachers are willing to argue either side of any controversy. Modern day lawyers. So that's what that having worked with Dr. Subramaniam Swamy to bring all those guys responsible for stashing away black money. Ultimately, what happened? That Mr. Jethmalani started supporting one of the guys. That the corrupt guy. That's what the Dr. Swamy's accusation. The meeting goes. Of course, I'm talking controversy. You come to know it's a national controversy. And it's not stopping that that Mr. Jethmalani gone to the extent of blaming that the Prime Minister Modi ji, that's in single particular. It's you have to understand. You should know. You should get clarity. What is the schism? What is the disagreement? Let's agree to disagree. What is the controversy? Get clarity. For that, you have to understand, that variety of, that discussions. You participate. You learn out of it. Of course, I'm talking about what is the message ultimately. The sophists are capable of arguing both sides because there is no virtue. Finally, they will say, my client's dharma. Dharma is to protect my client for the sake of suitcase, money, over. Oh, modern day lawyer, I'm talking about perverts. They're called perverts. Even the people part of terrorism, they are very brilliant people. But what happens? Their intelligence is not for the betterment of humanity, for the destruction of the humanity, unethicality. Perverts, I'm talking about. Religious perverts. Intellectual perverts, we are talking about. Judicial perverts. Bureaucratic perverts everywhere. Corruption in kind everywhere. So, what is the point? What is the objective content if you're asking, finally, the truth, beauty, and justice. We are all born with this particular objective content. With innate understanding of their existence. The truth alone triumphs, we know finally. But our intuition will tell. But conscience will tell, what is beauty. But of course, you got different manifestations. But finally, what is truth? What is beauty? What is justice? The fairness in a particular occasion? No compromise in that. There may be different manifestations. That is the objective content we are born with. That is what I'm saying. You are the God. There is a God in you. There is a virtue in you. There is a knowledge in you. Because knowledge may be God for some people. Virtue may be God for some people. Love may be God for some people. Serving people may be God for some people. The enlightenment may be God for some people. The movie Lucy, you come to the conclusion. I'm everywhere, omnipresent, omnipotent. The nature is God for some people. So everybody born with that particular truth, beauty. There is no standard. It's not judging, the truth of somebody else. Truth is truth. Beauty is always beauty, but of course there are different manifestations. There is no, that even for, the terrorism, there is no, the consensual definition. Truth is truth. Beauty, we are all born with that objective. It's not biased, objective content, that the innate understanding. But there may be some deviations, aberrations, of course, different manifestations. Finally, we reach the conclusion. We are all born with that. Unfortunately, what happened? We never, that recognize the established fact. We always try to deviate. We go out of that. Finally, we come to the conclusion. The conscience says you deviated. That's dangerous. So, citizenship, according to Socrates, what it is? The individual's own powers are independent of reasoning. Individual own powers and independent of reasoning, argument, judgment. That's what citizenship. You got your own right. You got a power. The power to get protected from the encroachment all round. You got fundamental rights as a citizen of India. So, that Socrates said, in its own, philosophy, the independent of reasoning, you got your own reasoning. It is not dependent reasoning, that it's not, the succumbing to the pressure of the state or any social groups. You got your own independent reasoning. You got unique, that judgment. And but, that should not contradict, the value system of the society. There it becomes unethical. You can have your own argument, judgment. Finally, you have to listen to the law. That's different situation. But of course, if you feel limitations of the law, where you can practice ethical standards, that whatever may be, according to Socrates, the citizenship all about individuals' own power, independent of reasoning, argument, or judgment. It confers some sort of power as a citizen of a particular nation. That's according to that the Socrates we are talking about, of course, right? So that the use of rational understanding to rediscover the knowledge. Emphasize rational understanding. Got the idea, na? But his contributions are more of ethical than scientific. Though he talks about the questioning everything, the logical connectivity, the stoicism principle, rational understanding to rediscover the knowledge. But the very knowledge ultimately makes you a virtuous person. You don't indulge in mistakes. You don't commit unethical activity. You become a virtuous person because knowledge is virtue. That way, so he shifted attention from heroic virtues. That's what the movie Troy. I'm saying Achilles. How the Achilles, he will be with all ladies, the fun, Achilles, the hero, Brad Pitt. You watch the Troy movie. That the even two kings, that in all my life I say, love your country, love your women. The statement says. The heroic virtues, the victory, valor, courage, everything. That is the thing, it's by defeating others. But the virtuous person will win over others, will win the hearts of everyone. By virtue, you can own the hearts of it, not by defeating anybody. Maybe temporary defeat. That guy defeated at your hands may try to retaliate you once again. The story is not over. That zero sum concept of theory. Go for variable sum concept of theory. Yes, rational understanding to rediscover knowledge. So shifted the attention from heroic virtues we are talking about. That what is that? That the Socrates contribution. It's not that whatever king says, right? King may be wrong. Don't say king goes never wrong. No, king may be wrong. There are a lot of examples in Tamil Silappatikaram. That how the Kannagi story you might be aware. He may be misled. Circumstantial evidence may mislead a particular judge of the Supreme Court. Even a lot of judges, coming after 15 years saying that I delivered wrong judgment. What is this? By the time the person, the convicted, no more. What is the use? Delayed justice, denied justice, we are talking about it. So, shifted the attention of heroic virtues. So, moral life brought the men the very happiness. When you are a virtuous person, see, How you expect others to treat you? The same way you treat others, everything gone. How you expect, that you to be treated in a particular occasion, the same way you are treating others. Otherwise, you put yourself in somebody else's position. Empathy, sympathy involved. Over. That demands you to practice, compassion, the passion towards other fellow humans. That's what, Jiva Karniya. Vallalar, Vadiya Payirai Kandabodellam Vadine. That's environmental ethics. Oh my God, the pet animals, when you grow, of course, I appreciate the guys, who have, pets at home. That's extraordinary sense. Na? You want to feed one animal, whatever maybe I'm talking about. So moral life, this particular virtuous life we are talking about by knowledge. Knowledge gives you virtue, the high morality, rectitude. The moral life ultimately gives you happiness. You're very happy. Because no problems. Cut at supply level, troubleshooting at the thought process. When you practice dharma, righteousness, what else can threaten you? Right action fetches right results. Having done everything A to Z wrong, I'm talking all these, corrupt politicians, corrupt bureaucrats, and everybody in the world I'm talking about. Having done everything, then after that you go to, the punya, pava, punya, karma, dharma. What is this? Cut at supply level. The moment you think about it, all, that you got judgment day. Don't forget that. That will rationalize all of your actions ultimately. You don't like, you're not involved in those petty dramas. It's a waste of time then. You know what will benefit society, what will take this humanity. Who am I? Why I came to this world? What's my purpose? Yes, the morality can be, that particular morality can be transmitted through education. Education, it can be taught. Education is an instrument of social, because the educational institution is one of the agents of socialization, making you understand, what is the value of the society, value system of the society, inculcating value system in you, so that in shaping you, so that you get character out of it, so that you become a personality, representation of your, the culture. You never find conflicting or contradicting environment in the soul, the world, the society. The morality, that particular morality, the non-detailed section, the sections, the sessions were there in those days, school days. After that, that what happened, that became leisure. Now, see, in UPSC ethics, that UPSC has got a syllabus, ethics and integrity. Something, which was part and parcel of, those school days, it has been removed. Now, I think, some schools are practicing. You have to tell moral stories. What is the morality you learned? That maybe Panchatatra, the Panchatantra, the stories, tales, or epics, Puranas, all religions I'm talking about, not restricted to one religion. People should learn everything. It is ultimate, that and all missing, they want mere scores, marks, ultimately, leisure hours, ultimately, they come with marks, that without values, ultimately. Forwards you make. So, that is what, we accused, the past. Of course, thanks to that new education policy with a lot of, the reforms we are talking about, we expect hope out of it. But the point is, how we criticize in the past, the role of the education institution not to produce employees for tomorrow corporates, rather to, generate leaders to stand in their own capacity, to become entrepreneurs, to become role models in the society. How institutions are prepared for that? I'm asking the question. Otherwise, how the teachers are prepared. I don't want you to be a teacher. I want you to be a guru. Are you capable of transforming an individual, a student? That demands ultimately guru shishya parampara relationship. Inculcating value system where you become guru. It's not mere knowledge selling business. The transformation should happen in front of your eyes. There, ultimately, the kids will start venerating you, touching your feet. The real transformation would have happened. It's not demanding respect. It is command. You don't need to command respect. It comes automatically. You're no more teacher. Where you are guru. A guru is born. When a student is ready, a teacher is already waiting there. A guru is already waiting there. People saying, of course, the morality, that particular morality can be transmitted through education, can be taught. But claiming that, see, in spite of all these things, see, such a virtuous person, he knows everything, but he says, I know nothing. Even Ilayaraja, the Ilayaraja, the music master from South, that he took part, that Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, Harmony, you might be able. But he did not participate in the Oscar. But of course, Oscar gone to another, our young man, another intelligent, musician from India, of course, A.R. Rahman. I appreciate that guy, parallelly. the two jewels from Tamil Nadu, that, of course, India, we proud Indians, we say. The Ilayaraja was asked once, how come you make fantastic combination? They live even after 30 years, 40 years, that there is soul in your music. How? People will tell, situations, directors, having listened the situations, start writing. The Saraswati comes to my mind, guides me. The God gives me those notation notes, not me. I'm mere instrument. I know nothing. Because what I'm doing is cheat. Arogana, avarogana, sarigama padanisa, saritapa magarisa. I don't know anything. I know nothing. The different combination, permutation combination, the God gives me. The combinations, that I create songs, ultimately you enjoy, you appreciate, but I don't know what is new. I'm also trying to learn. What I'm doing is cheating. Same arogana, avarogana. But you are appreciating everything to the God, not for me. Because I did nothing. Such is the humbleness. I know nothing. That's what great people. That's what made him, that to score more than 1,000 films. Recently, 75 years celebration, that happened. A great personality. Soulful rendition. Even, that Rahman also, that soulful rendition. His one, that young inheritance. He wants, both work with, both appreciate each other. You might be aware. That's different school of thought. You might be aware. Oscar Rahman. You might be. So both appreciating each other. What is that? So that's what great people are. Very humble people. They'll say they're very humble, unassuming leaders without title. They will say, the same way Socrates says, climbing, he knew nothing. I don't know anything. You people enjoy. So what is that? His way of stating that he had no fixed doctrine. I know nothing. This is otherwise called, such a great philosopher says, he knew nothing. Socratic irony. People say ironia, ironia. You understand? That's what great humble people are. That's why I said all intellectuals are with full of doubts whether I said right or wrong. Fools are very assertive, very confident. You understand what I'm talking about? Great people are humble. It's that way. So, Narakodam Talabadi. In Tamil, there is a saying. Narakodam Talabadi. Arakodam Talak Plak Talak Plak. What is that? Empty vessels making much noise. Ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, that the moment you listen to that, it will rationalize all of your actions. Oh my God, that makes you more humble, simple. Oh my God. So idea of, that life focuses on self-development, especially in pursuit of, that goodness, virtue, justice, integrity, friendship. You got the idea, na? Self-development, focus on this. Life is meant for learning, experiencing, examining, introspection. We talk about the idea of life focuses on self development, especially the whole life is in pursuit of goodness, virtue, high moral behavior, fairness, the practice of truth, honesty, integrity, friendship, hobnobbing. Two flowers never compete each other. You know that the moon never compares itself with a rose. Moon is a moon, rose is a rose. No competition there. So don't enter into competition. You are unique. God given unique. Huh? Come on. Let's go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, doctrine of soul led him to believe that all virtues, that converge into one. That's what, that I recall already, the Swami, that, what is that? Ramana Maharishi from Tiruvannamalai, a great, a spiritual person. The truth is always him, but the manifestations are different. The God is one, the paths are different. All roads leading to Rome, there was a saying the same way, all different paths leading to ultimate destination, the Almighty God, whatever may be. You call Allah, you call Jesus, you call Lord Ram Krishna, you call Buddha, you call Mahavira. That way. That's that way. Doctrine of soul, that led him to believe that all virtues converge into one. What is that? That there are several manifestations, but one. So good knowledge of one's true story and purposes, that throughout the life, good knowledge of one's true story and purposes, that throughout the life, we talk about, that so knowledge is virtue. That's another manifestation we are talking about. The very statement, that of course, so the knowledge depends on the nature or essence of things as they are. It is not expecting how, you are always, that suggesting correction even to the Almighty God. If this God would have been correct, he would have married only one. Lord Muruga married only one girl, practiced monogamy. He would have been good person because of the things he practiced. That two girls he married married two girls. He practiced polygamy. He became a bad role model. There are guys speaking this way, suggesting even directions. That recommendations to the God. You are that level. Nobody is free from criticism, including your God. You practice ultimate democracy there. But the knowledge depends on accepting the nature or essence of things as they are. Don't expect how they should be. Because for that you have to love. Love leads to acceptance. Acceptance leads to peace. If you don't accept, what will happen ultimately? So that even that it's not evaluating, becoming judgment, hating the fools or whatever may be. One day fine morning he will become brilliant person. Otherwise he will come to know that virtue. So you have to accept. Okay, do you want my help? Let me help you. That way. It is not the belittling. You are fool. You are fool. No. What can I do for you? So it is that way. There comes the responsibility. With more power comes more responsibility. So knowledge depends on the nature or essence of things as they are. So underlying forms of things are more real than experienced exemplification. Underlying forms of things are more real than experienced exemplification. So that it is that so behind that we are talking about you undergo that experience that someone else will undergo a different kind of experience that when all put together that will convey a different meaning. But what is underlying that the forms, the abstractness is real. Manifestations are different, but abstractness, there may be some deviations when you talk about manifestation. Truth alone triumphs. Beauty is beauty. Fairness is fairness. Justice is justice. That may vary from place to place, time to time, but aberrations, but you can't compromise that abstractness core. Underlying forms of things are more real than exemplified. The experienced exemplifications you're talking about. That it's not saying that Lord Krishna is the only God in the world, or Lord Allah is the only God in the world, or Lord Jesus only God in the world. You fools, don't fight. You're religious guys. You become spiritual guys. You will understand. You will appreciate the God is one, but in different manifestations. You are into totally different domain called spiritual domain. Don't enter into competition. Rather, you become a bridge to connect different faiths. Then finally, you understand the original truth. Get enlightened. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't want your misinterpretation. We don't want the intermediate or brokers. Ladies and gentlemen, all the forms participate in and lead to the highest form, simple to complex. The simple to complex. That is what evolution we are talking about. All the forms participate in and lead to highest forms of life. What is that highest form? Is good, virtue. It's not God. Of course, you say God. It's up to you. Knowledge is virtue. Knowledge is God for some people. The good, that from simple to it's all life is all about evolving. Come on, evolve. It's not the end of the story. It's not the end of the world. புதிதாக பிறந்தோம் புதிதாக பிறந்தோம். Every day you are born afresh. Don't worry. You learn, you will equip, you move to the next level. The different challenges demanding your different avatar. I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the right time. Let me take you to the next level. What is that? Of course, the Western moral thinker, that we are talking about, especially Socrates, we know SPA, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. Now we are discussing Socrates. Yes, his view, of course, we talk about, teleological view, deontological, teleological, we are talking about, of course, the philosophical attempt to describe things in terms of purpose, based on the goal, based on directive principle. So it is that way, that you think about outcome at the end of the day, teleological view. And it's another view is there, that's called deontological view. By performing the duty, you are not bothered about what is the outcome. So that's deontological. Deon means duty, deontological. So in ethics, it could be teleological or deontological. Deontological, you are always worried about your performance, your duty, not bothered about outcome. Not bothered about result, but this is about your goal, your directive principle, your purpose, your result. It's part of the philosophy. It's a philosophical attempt called teleological view. It is that way. So Plato's, we are talking about, that I think. So Plato, that all of the writings, his own students, Socrates, that student we call, Plato, who wrote, Republic, you might be aware. The Plato's, own philosophy, all contributions of Plato, you see the central theme is Karl Marx, his guru. Not Karl Marx, Socrates. See how Karl Marx took inroad in me. Huh? Conflict school of thought. Hello, I'm not communist. I'm basically capitalist. That's different. Don't that misunderstand me. Of course, you understand anything. That let me have my own life. You have your own life. Yes, the Plato's own philosophy. The Plato's own philosophy. The central theme. What you witness is guru influence. What is that? Socrates' doctrine as a central theme I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So virtue and knowledge, according to Socrates, knowledge is virtue. Virtue is knowledge. To be identical, so that no man knowingly does wrong. That nobody is consciously doing mistakes, unethical practices, because they lack awareness. They don't know what is right. Maybe that justification they're talking about. See, knowledge is virtue. That guy, maybe they're immature. They lack awareness. They don't know what is the outcome of that. Teleological view. If you're good, that leads to happiness. Probably they may not be understanding that. If you practice, morality that leads to happy life, probably they don't understand this logical connection. That's why they are committing all these mistakes. It's called citrinbum. They don't know what is perinbum. The greater, the happiness they don't know. That's why people are shrouded in, that lesser happiness. Immature people. Shrouded in the world of, materialism. They don't know what is the ultimate. This way of looking at things, we are talking about, but he never said materialism at everything. Of course, that he himself was a sophisticated personality. You might be aware, sophist. So virtue and knowledge to be identical, so that no man knowingly does wrong. Unknowingly they do, because lack of awareness, lack of knowledge. So virtue is identical with knowledge. It can be taught. As that, as he said in the beginning, right? How education, through education, the virtue can be, that taught. We spoke in the beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, that way we are talking about. Of course, what is that? Not as a professional specialty, not as a professional specialty, but as Sophists had pretended to track it. As Sophists had pretended to track it. We are talking about. So it's that way. Sophist had, the sophist, it can be taught not as a professional specialty. It's not by, there are some classes, there, how to read a book, how to write a book, how to read a book, how to eat, how to cook. For everything, you got classes everywhere. But finally, people will say it's an art. It won't be taught. Finally, we'll say, whatever may be the field, it's art. Comes only by your involvement. To tell that, you need session. Oh my God. So virtue is identical with knowledge. It can be taught, but not as a professional specialty. That's what sophisticated people. I'll give you just. I'll tell you how to live peacefully. And there are a lot of guys in the roadside. They'll charge you money for that. Peace is not from outside. Peace is from within. Everything is from inside. It's inside out, not outside in. But unfortunately, people never understand how to live peacefully. Otherwise, we enter into war to establish peace. We wage war to establish peace. Is it peaceful? We talk about. So Socrates gave no formal answer how the virtue can be learned, but he said it can be taught, but not as a professional specialty, as sophisticated pretended to track it. Socrates gave but no formal answer that how virtue can be learned. This is a matter of criticism when it comes to Socrates. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we spoke, the teleological method, you are bothered about purpose or cause. But deontological method is all about, that you focus on your duty and obligation. Ethics can be two different school of thought, we can say. It could be deontological or teleological. It may be focused on, the very means, or it may be focused on, that end they're talking about. So deontological approach is all about, the philosophy, the study of nature of duty or obligation. But teleological approach focus on purpose or cause or outcome, explanation of phenomenon by purpose, then causes. We are talking about, that it then causes, of course, you say the based on goal also. We are talking about. We already witnessed that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the right time. Let me take you to the next level. Yes, now it is right time. Let me take you to the world of quotes. The quotes of Socrates, Western moral thinker, the Socrates we are talking about, the quotes of Socrates. A system of morality is based on relative emotional values is a mere illusion we are talking about. The Western moral thinker, of course, Socrates we are discussing. The system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is mere illusion. A thoroughly vulgar, the conception which has nothing, that sound in it and nothing true. This is according to, that Socrates we are talking about. So it's based on relatively emotional values is mere illusion, because that the objective content with which we spoke in the beginning, truth, beauty, justice, they're all objective we are talking about. That so it's based on that we are talking about. It's a mere illusion when you say they are based on relative emotional values, if at all you say the very the morality. No, a thoroughly vulgar conception which has nothing sound in it and nothing true. If at all you say it's based on relative emotional values, because they are all objective content, truth, beauty, justice. That's according to Socrates. He is richest who is content with least. The self-contentment should be there. You came with nothing, you go with nothing. The great Alexander, that he was heading towards India, the Porus. You might Purushottaman, we call, of course, that ultimately what happened? They were afraid of, that Nanda dynasty, with elephants, everything. And also, that some disease came. The soldiers were afraid. And also, he became sick, you might be aware. So after the death, what happened, right? That Alexander said, the great Alexander, that when I die, my coffin, that you keep my, the hands out of coffin to proclaim the world that I go with nothing. And all, my coffin should be carried away by all my doctors, medicinal practitioners. Because even, the doctors can't stop death. They cannot stop death. Death is natural. Everybody born, they have to die one day. And all the, the precious stones, that everything that I have, that, so, that when I go to the cemetery on the path, that ultimately, that they should be, that spread, that distributed, so that, people should walk on that, they should understand, that I came with nothing. I'm not taking, that anything when I go back. The message to the world. You come with nothing, you go with nothing. Why the drama? Why the exploitation? Why the oppression? Why suppression? Why competition? Why adharma? We are talking about. So instead, that. So of course, focus on what is need, not greed. You should be very greedy in fulfilling the needs of the people. You should be greedy in generating wealth for your own society. Society in the sense nation, not at the cost of another nation. That too. As long as that you deviate from dharma, it's over. So all these notions also, Max Weber makes statement ultimately the India, China like countries could not see economic development because they are completely based on pava, punya, dharma. Of course, you have seen economic the development. What happened now? What happened now? Waged war with that money, that's all. So he is the richest. That by heart you are rich when that when you are content, satisfied with what you have. But otherwise, let me ask you another question. What do you do with what you have? That gives you arrogance on your part. Ultimately, you start disturbing others. You enforce, you become assertive. You try to flex your muscle. Ultimately, that making others feel insecure. And ultimately, you try to, that you feel that's called respect. Then ultimately, that you try to expand the same process. You go for greater exploitation. Ultimately, you go with nothing. Otherwise, the money you earned in one generation, your future generation waiting to destroy in short span of time, because they don't know the value. Otherwise, that the curse, if at all you believe in that, whatever may be. So the richest person who is content with the least, what you have, even the least, if you have self-satisfaction, because life is very simple. Be complicated. The corona would have revealed you. Just 20,000 rupees more than sufficient to rent the home. Even when we earn, crores and crores of rupees, lakhs and lakhs of rupees, we are not happy, because you would have seen a guy driving, Rolls Royce with this mindset. Not happy. On the other side, auto wala, mapla, sokyama, that guy will be going. Like, the Rajinikanth auto karan. Auto karan, that guy will be going happily. He has to earn, every day 300 rupees to feed his family. But that guy, happy. But guy with 300 crores Rolls Royce, he is the richest who is content with least, self-contentment. So you focus on need, not greed. Of course, you be greedy to fulfill the needs of others. That's selfless, that accumulation of wealth for the sake of society. That's altruism. That's a different scenario. When it comes to your need, that ultimately you address the need. That's the core. The greed for the society. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the richest who is content with the least. For content is the wealth of the nature we are talking about. Of course, the unexamined life, that unworthy of living. There was a question, the previous year question based on this. I'm going to explain. That after Socrates, I'll be discussing question. I think Plato, we will be discussing another session only. Given the fact this demands much elaboration, hope I make difference. I believe, of course, it's not simply reading in front of you all the words. I don't like. Then I'm not doing justice. I don't want that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to the next level. Yes, what is that? The quotes of Socrates I'm talking about. Of course, I'm discussing. He's a man of courage who doesn't run away, don't escape, but remains at his post and fights against enemy. It is an opportunity. Don't pray in front of the God. Oh my God, please bless me with comfort. No. Oh my God, please bless me with the strength so that ready to face any eventuality, any challenges. That should be your prayer, if at all you pray. It is not escaping from the reality. Ship is always safe on its shore, but ship is meant for sailing. Yes, that is what life, that have the courage, himmat. You talk about Dheeraj, that it is that way. He is a man of courage or women of courage who doesn't run away. You've got responsibility. Why do you run away? The people who commit suicide. Why? It's escapism. By committing suicide, you are putting your people more peril. They become highly vulnerable, whether farmer suicide or any industrialist, I'm talking about whether it is that Siddharth coffee shop, even this guy, another guy, the Shankar, and one more guy recently. Of course, there is, black money behind, that's different theory. People are accusing, I don't know how true. But, another SS Wasankar, one guy, committed suicide, the stress, pressure. By committing suicide, you are gone. But think about your own family members. The people trusted you. Breach of trust. You escaped. That's not the solution. That's your selfishness. Only coward will commit suicide. I'm talking about. You put your own people, that a dangerous situation. They are vulnerable to antisocial elements then. As long as you are there, you could protect. When you are absent, you just imagine. You open up. Oh my God. So he is a man of courage or woman of courage who doesn't run away, but remains at his post, that a position, whatever may be, and fight against enemy. Be a fighter. Fight back, strike back. Of course, that today, that you are down, not defeated. Tomorrow you will win. Have the hope. It is that way. So it is that way, that. So worthless people live only to eat and drink. So this is what wine and dine culture. So these people, comfort-loving people, hedonism principle. People of worth, that eat and drink only to live, only for, you have to understand, they are means, they are not ends. It's unfortunately people, that think that, that is ultimately end. That to have, that life you eat, it's not eating throughout the life. Oh my God, wine and dine culture, the people, you need comfort, no doubt. To improve your productivity or maximize the productivity, that's fantastic. So that benefits not only you, whole community, whole society. For that, you need infrastructural bottlenecks, should not be there. You need infrastructural, that supply, that's the point, that support, that's separate. But it's not, that they are means, not an end. The end is different. There should be peace in the society. There should be happiness all around. The economic development should benefit everybody. That this is selfish motive, self-expediency, individual happiness. But societal happiness can be ensured by, the collective altruism we are talking about. So worthless people live on mere eating and drinking. Consumerism practice, even if you indulge it, come on. It is not always thinking about, what should I buy, what should I, otherwise Warren Buffett comes and gives you the statement. If you buy things which you don't want, you have to sell your things which you badly need. To rationalize all your consumer excess. You buy things which you don't need. You have to, sell things which you badly need. That's what life. So that will rationalize. So your consumerism tendency will get rationalized. That Warren Buffett statement you might be aware. So worthless people live only on eating and drinking, comfort living, hedonism, sophisticated personality. People worth, they eat and drink only for survival. That is means, not an end. Of course, the false words are not only evil in themselves, but they infect the soul with evil. Tannanje tannai chudum. Got the idea, na? So it is that way, இனிய உளவாக இன்னாத கூறல் கனி இருப்ப காய்க்க வந்துட்டு. There is a திருக்குறள் in Tamil, of course, that when you got, that the good words, sweet words, but you don't take them. Rather, you use vocabularies in such a way to scold, to hurt others in the sense, that when you got, the ripened fruits, you always choose, the bitter vegetables. It is almost like that. So false words not only evil themselves, it's not only going to that destroy you, and it will also destroy your soul. But after all, soul has got its own greater connectivity with the greater soul. That with evil, that they become evil forces ultimately, the false words. You have to be very careful because the words are outcome. The language is outcome of your mindset. The vocabularies are outcome of mindset. Otherwise, if I check what you Google every day, the words I will tell you what's your mindset. Because you are what you watch, you are what you eat, you are what you read, you are what you learn. So false words are not only evil in themselves, but they infect the soul with evil. Ultimately, the soul, that it gets spoiled. You might be aware, that so after all, the body, that is a medium to carry the soul. That the medium should not spoil the core. Understand, na? The soul entered the body. After that, the soul will leave. That the way with which you spoil your body, that should not spoil the very soul. Then you have to take another birth. That's what, that the world of spiritualism, if at all rebirth, the belief is there. The purpose for which, that it's not complete now. It takes another body. There is a saying that, it's if at all, you would have heard all those stories. You might be, if at all. Maybe, that for, the medium should not spoil the soul. The body, that of course, the outcome of the body, the language you generate because of the thing you are socialized, your mindset, your thought process, your language, your vocabulary, the false words, not only evil in themselves, they infect the soul with evil. That infects the soul, spoils the soul. That has got its own karma, consequences, if at all you believe in. Whatever may be. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is right time. Of course, that before going Plato, I want to, that take up, that one question of this, that Socrates. After that, I'll come back to Plato, ladies and gentlemen, because that let me take you. After that, you will understand. Yes, our convenience. That you stay with the process, right? The same way what we discussed Socrates, we have to discuss Plato, and maybe nothing wrong. Yes. There was a previous year question, of course, that 2019 question especially, that talks about, of course, this is the thing you can ask me. So how ethical standards, value system, principles, what you are talking about, that the Western moral thing is whether Socrates or Plato, how the questions appeared in UPSC examination, if that's going to be a question, your question, of course, this way. What do you, what do each of the following quotations mean to you? What do you understand? You have your own meanings. So unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates has said this. What do you mean out of that particular statement, out of the quote? That is the reason I discussed. Don't say, sir, he said quotes, how come you can elaborate? Are you authorized by Socrates to elaborate? You are asked question in that way. Hello. My question, that are you authorized by Socrates to answer that way in the examination? If that's the question, you are asked to, that write your own opinion, meaning based on the Socrates, quotes. Of course, there was a question, 2019 question. The same way, the 2018 question also by Warren Buffett, and also, another question, that we are talking about. Maybe we will discussing later. But let me take up this particular question. First question: unexamined life is unworthy of living. This is how the questions are asked. That they enrich. That we now discuss Socrates, Plato, then Aristotle, then round Immanuel Kant, John Rawls, and English utilitarians. We have to discuss, say, Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill. Yes, and also that our Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekananda, Dr. Kalam, the Lord Buddhism, of course Lord Buddha, Jainism, and Bhagavad Gita, Chanakya Niti, everything we have to discuss when we talk about the enrichment of ethics as a subject, the contributions from different sources, even Tirukural, Tiruvalluvar, that we had one question based on that. Will come to know, that several questions came from Dr. Kalam, Mahatma Gandhi, and also, the people like Warren Buffett, Socrates, even Abraham Lincoln. His quote is utilized for, posing a question here. So it is that way. So I think it is right time. Let me take you, to this, that Socrates-based question, an unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates statement. What is the answer? That I took some resource from a net, but I use that that reference material as reference material, but I've got my own explanation. Well, even there we have seen. So the question, let me read the question once again. What do each of the following quotations mean to you? Of course, three quotes were there. No, two quotes were there. I'm talking about only one quote here. What is that? Socrates quote. An unexamined life is not worth living. What is that? An unexamined human life is deprived of the meaning and purpose of that exists. You don't go for introspection as Mahatma Gandhi ji did. You monitor yourself. There is a conscience in you. There is a judge in you. You have to listen to the voice of the judge, your inner conscience. Then it becomes crisis of conscience. You may be ignoring today in the name of materialism, but tomorrow you can't escape. You are going to answer that. By the time you realize your life is gone, you don't have time. There are guys, they do not want that realize first. Whatever things they want to do, they want to play the drama in their own way. They play. My path is separate path. My way is highway. There is a day of judgment. If you don't listen to the judge, one day you will realize by the time life is gone. Otherwise, the consequences on your own, that benevolent people, by the time you won't be there to protect them. You have to understand. So you rationalize. The moment you think about it, if I'm not here, in my absence, even that 7 steps of highly effective people. There, Stephen Covey says, you just go to the funeral ceremony where you see, that when they open that, that the coffin box, you see your own face. How your reactions will be. Think that way. How the society, who are all the people going to weep for you? What is your, that obligation? What's your commitment? How you want, that the world to view you? So the moment you think that way, you will rationalize all of your actions. But I'm not talking about, there are dead bodies in the name of, that live bodies. They already died, no more. Mobile dead bodies. That they simply, that passed the days. I'm not talking about that. So the moment you think about, the judgment day, all your actions will be rationalized. That demands introspection, self-experiencing, examining. We are talking about that way. So unexamined human life is deprived. If you don't, do that, you are deprived from, that understanding the real meaning and purpose of life. It is not, having, the social network, the 5,000 members. I see, that a lot of billions and billions of followers in the Twitter. So what? How many people really, that by heartfelt respect have, towards you? Are you aware? Do you win over those hearts? No. But all right things are not popular. All popular things are not right things, for your kind information. So the ethicality and popularity never go together, for your kind information. It is that way, that demands selfie. So ultimately what happened, that you won't be rushing after people then. All will rationalize. Don't beg for relationship. Don't beg for love. Rather, you be giver of life, giver of affection. Be part of contribution, not part of, getting, not part of begging. Try to give everything. One who gives forgives, but one who gets forgets. Lack of gratitude. They will change only the givers, but they will continue to get. One who gives continues, that he will continue, keep on, he or she will be keep on, the giving away. The givers will change, the getter never changes. One who gives forgives, one who gets forgets. You understand what I'm talking about? Why then? Why all this drama? Singamle. Oh my God, that even I'm called, Success Sampath, because of my organization name. Sometimes I feel bad. Why this? Even the Sampath name itself, that it's meaningless once you die. Why? Who gave this title? It is that way, we are talking about maybe societal recognition. Oh my God, there are leaders without title. Why? So it is that way. So unexamined human life is deprived of the meaning. That you don't understand the real meaning of who am I? Why I came? What's my purpose? God cannot go everywhere. That's why he sent his ambassadors. You, me, everybody. God cannot go everywhere. That's why he sent, your mom, your dad, your teacher, you, me, for a purpose. What is that purpose? Have you questioned that? Anytime. Because you are a God. There is a boson particle in you. You are the God. You are part of the God. There is a God in you. It is inside out, not outside in. I'm talking about that way. இருக்கும் இடத்தை விட்டு இல்லாத இடம் தேடி எங்கெங்கோ அலைகிறாயே ஞானத்தங்கமே. It's in Tamil. Everything is here, but unfortunately you search everything from outside world. Happiness is not from outside. By nature you are the happiest person in the world, but unfortunately you did everything in the world to be unhappy. Once you realize it's over, so that demands introspection, examination. Why? Who am I? People who question became Vivekananda. People who question became that Ramana Maharishi. All great leaders. What's my contribution to this world? What's my message to this world? Have you ever questioned? What's your vision? What's your goal? What's your purpose? What's your legacy? Takkar Tagavilar Enbardan, that Echattar Kanapadam. What you are going to, what do you want to leave to this world? While leaving this world? Of course, introspection. This question is all about that. Unexamined human life is deprived of, that if you don't examine, you miss the meaning or purpose of your existence. It's not existence, rather. It is living. The moment you understand the purpose, you live. It's not existing. You are living. You start living. Life becomes lively, vivid. Ladies and gentlemen, so the ability to introspect, that removes the individualistic absurdity. That's what I speak. You won't enter into competition. You won't, scold others. You won't hurt others. That you won't indulge something, that is at the cost of others. You won't amass wealth, that by wrong means. Otherwise, you won't, that run after, the title. You won't beg for anything. There is no rush to everything. Everything happens on right time. We are not too slow. We are not too far. We are not too fast. We are not too slow. Everything happens for a reason. The moment you get that rationalization, the ability to introspect, that removes individualistic, that all dramas will go away. You won't commit mistakes. You won't be part of that, the petty dramas. By invoking a commitment, but that's what I'm saying. Even whatever you are doing, that whenever, that be committed to the purpose. Even when you are working in a company, love your job. It is the career. Don't love your company because you don't know when the company is going to stop loving you. It is not for the appeasement, you do, but stay with the purpose. To the core, to the spirit, you deliver. Ultimately, nobody can shake you. The only companies will change. Your passion towards, that your service never changes. Nobody can stop you. Nobody can stop you. It is that way I'm talking about. So, the ability to introspect, it is if that way, if you're going to introspection, self-introspection, that you do experiment that, all individualistic absurd, that he is great, he is low, he is top, he is bottom, this guy great, that guy low. You are never touched by all those, that unnecessary dramas. As I told you, the moon never compares itself with a rose. A rose is a rose, moon is a moon. The uniqueness, that's what even, that one of my, of course, that my well-wisher, my admirer, one guy, Saravana Kumar IAS, he's somewhere a PA to one minister, I believe. That guy used to tweet, I appreciate that guy. That he said, that when you enter into competition, you talk about, you recognize there are other best. When you think about best in the world, you recognize there are other best people or better people. When you think that you are unique, there is no one because you are the only one. It's not feeling arrogant about that. That will rationalize all of your actions. That will give you empathy, sympathy, the passion, compassion to understand the problems of others, the equity. The uniqueness will start understanding the principle of equity. You won't enter into competition. You won't feel low or you won't feel high. That will rationalize. So individualistic absurdity will come, that down because of that. So by invoking, a commitment to moral integrity and social solidarity, moral integrity. So ultimately, that you stick to what is core, what is virtuous practice. The knowledge is virtue. The social that leads to social solidarity, society, prosperity in the society, happiness for everybody. Finally, The old as a one family was Deva Kudumbagam. We are talking about just like that the seed that needs soil to grow, sunlight and water. We are talking about that when you think about the growth of that ultimately seed into plant. You talk about the needs, the soil, sunlight, water for its germination. The human life needs introspection and examination for its growth. Of course, that's I appreciate. I am taking one reference resource, but I am building my own stories to make you understand. I want you to think that way. When you think that way, your resources unlimited. So you need not wait for anybody's, reference. Just think that, but you got your own unique version. We are talking about because you are unique. Because you are unique. There is a boson particle in you. There is God in you. You are the God. My fellow God men. It is that way, God women. So just like that the seed needs, every human being needs, that. So introspection and examination for your overall growth. It's not mere materialistic growth, emotional growth, balanced growth, intellectual growth. That leads to growth of everyone. We are talking that way, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take you to the next level, of course, but it's that. So an understanding of the experiences gained in life at any particular time. The experiences you gain, out of that introspection or experiment, what you do, as Mahatma Gandhi ji did. The experimentation, what you do, gained in life at any particular time, enrich one's engagement with self and universe. It's not only enriching, that yourself moves to next level. As I said, the words you should be very, the Socrates said, the false words you use in such a way that spoils your soul. The false words, the language, outcome of your thought, outcome of your mindset, outcome of your socialization, outcome of your institutionalization, outcome of your internalization, outcome of your culture. The false words, the language is a symbol of your thought process. That should not spoil your soul. After all, you took body, the soul took body as a medium. The medium should not threaten the core soul. Once that you go for self-introspection or experimentation, that will enrich, ladies and gentlemen, that will enrich yourself. The self, ultimately, the value addition is done to the soul. That becomes greatest soul. The greatest soul like Mahatma Gandhi. The greatest soul like, Swami Vivekananda. The greatest soul may be Jesus. The greatest soul may be Allah. The greatest soul may be Buddha or Mahavira. Who may be? The greatest soul, the Dr. Kalam. Yes, we talk that way, of course, that. So enriches one's soul and the universe. Yeah, because you are part of the universe. You came from there. It's a very elliptical pattern, what you see in an atom. The same pattern you see in the solar system. What else you need? What else you need? Are you not part of the universe? The elliptical pattern. Electrons orbiting around, that you talk about, that the nucleus, right? Elliptical path, the same path with the solar system. What else you need? Ladies and gentlemen, so Mahatma Gandhi's examination of, that self, that we are talking about through autobiography, especially autobiography, we are talking about my experiments with, we spoke many times, highlights the significance of the reflection of my life is my message. Well, the transparency, it's not opaqueness I'm talking about. The transparency with which, that you spread information, you become role model. My life is open book for everybody. It is that way. That demands guts in you, courage in you, dheeraj in you to come open, to share, to admit your mistakes in the past. By doing that, that says, from where you gone to this level, that's why you became Mahatma. Even Satya Sodak Samaj founder, Jyotiba Phule, Mahatma, you're talking that way. Fighting for the cause of everybody. That becomes message. So greatest souls, even B.R. Ambedkar, we appreciate that way. So Mahatma Gandhi was not only, that able to map his weakness, that and vulnerabilities, through the examination, but also was able to question his prejudices. He will go for indefinite fast. He will punish himself, sacrifice. That's what great people. They won't hurt others. There is no leadership without sacrifice. The leadership always demanding you to sacrifice. Give up everything. Renunciation. That's what the core essence of Nishkama Karma we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, but was able to, the quest on his, prejudices and understand his strength as a human being. We are talking about that way, ladies and gentlemen. So So, that, so he not only able to, because he admitted all the mistakes he committed. That I told you the story. One lady went with his own, son to Mahatma Gandhi. People are saying you are a great person. Come on, my son is taking lot of mithai sweet. You tell him he should not take more sweets. I couldn't control him. People are saying you are great. Everybody listening to you. Why don't you tell my son? That lady spoke that in front of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi isn't Doshi. Oh, so okay. You please come after 14. Come with us. 14 days. Yes. So ultimately, what happened? That lady went off with son. So Mahatma Gandhi ultimately what happened, right? Took 14 days to control the temperament of taking more sweets, because Mahatma Gandhi himself was taking more sweets. Took 14 days for Mahatma Gandhi. Anything what you do, if you practice for 14 days, that becomes your habit. Any relationship that you maintain for 7 years, that becomes permanent relationship, the long-lasting relationship. Anything that you practice, 14 days, 21 days, 42 days, this is all, pillar points. I don't know. That works. Anything continuously what you do for 14 days, it becomes part of your personality or habit. Of course, character. Please, Mahatma Gandhi did such a way, could, the resist himself from the temptation of, taking more sweets. Ultimately, the 14th day gone. So after 14 days, that the lady came again with, her own son. And now, asked, yeah, you said, you asked me to come after 14 days. Yes. Mahatma Gandhi now said, yes. Bacha, ज़्यादा मिठाई नहीं है, मत करो. You don't take, much sweet. Started, preaching. So this lady got infused, got angry. Oh, what does this? This you could have told 14 days back now. To tell this, single line, you took 14 days for you. So immediately Mahatma Gandhi admitted, what is that? It took 14 days for me to control myself from taking more sweet. Now I am qualified to advise your son that, so that, that is the reason I asked, now I am qualified. Then lady understood. Such a great, oh, that's why you are Mahatma. Preaching is easier than practice. Preaching is easier than practice. Very difficult to practice. There is a saying, Kandavar Vindiller, Vindavar Kandilar. It's very easy to preach and practice. There is a German, that's why he was Mahatma. So self-sacrifice. No leadership without sacrifice. That demands, you have to sacrifice a lot. That is the point ultimately we are talking about. Of course, so he admitted his weakness and vulnerabilities openly. You read that my experiment with truth, that how to, for him, truth is religion, he says. For me, truth is religion. That's what Mahatma Gandhi says. Swami Vivekananda says, love is religion. Love is God. But that Mahatma Gandhi ji, truth is, God. So, it is that way we are talking about. That's what great people are. Of course, you admit your vulnerability and the moment you admit openly, that says, you're ready to learn, ready to change, you're ready to evolve. That's the meaning. Then only you can become great. We are talking about, that. So he was able to quest his prejudices. He corrected himself. Even the great poet Bharati, he was, that having, that low opinion about women. That was corrected by Sister Nivedita. That movie Bharati will tell you. He changed his notion. After that, that a great poet started, he corrected his mindset, of course, because change is permanent. We have to evolve. We evolve as a human being, by committing mistakes, by learning out of that, we evolve on our own. Very natural. It's a good thing we learn out of it. If we don't learn out of it, it's over then. It's a stereotype. We are repeating the same. What we did in the 18, if we did same in 40s, we did the same. But if we learn out of it, that our relationship moves to the next level. That is what life. That is what the preaching is then practice. Not free from, that sacrifice we are talking about. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, so understand, that his strength and as a human being we are talking about. That's why he's strong. Able to quest his, prejudices and understand, what's, as a human being, you have to understand what is your positive, what is your negative, what's your strength area, what's your weak. And try to strengthen your weak area and try to maintain, the strong, make the strong stronger. That's all. You understand? If you don't know, it is not someone coming and telling that you are weak, you are strong. That you should be the best judge in you. right? That don't expect others to come and evaluate you, become judgmental. That's pity situation. So this very ability to reflect on life adds more depth to the character of Arjuna. That we are talking about in Mahabharata. Then most of the other characters like then the Bhishma, Yudhishthir, and or even the Kauravas we are talking about it, because he questioned Lord the Krishna. How come I can kill my own the brothers there? By killing my brothers, how come I can say that I won the war? Don't say I'm doing. You are not doing. You are instrumental. I make you do. You are doing, that I am doing by through you. That Sambhavami, everything, that to Lord Krishna. That don't say I did. That's ahankara. That's the same way. So instead of following the norms of fighting with his clan, Arjuna questioned the meaningless of what is the meaning of this war? By winning my brothers, what I'm going to get? He said the karma, the situation demands. You have to stand, on the path of, the dharma to win over adharma. It is that way. So meaningless of the war and the purpose of his life. He questioned the fast changing, the societies. That is why, that vulnerabilities. You understand your weakness, where you are strong, where you are weak. There is Arjuna in you. There is Krishna in you. There is Duryodhana in you. Come on, question. That we are talking about. So the fast changing, societies, that and consumerist culture we are talking about. Ultimately, what happened in the contemporary world? Leave less time for the human beings, to examine and think, because you are busy. You're quite busy. Busy for what? It is not the speed. It is the direction in which you travel that matters a lot. It is not growth. That's what Madam Kiran Bedi, when I met her, she was talking. It's almost like that striking you at your bank point. When you talk about corporate, it's all about the size of the growth, the growth, the turnover, everything. It's not economic growth, the purpose. But after that, I added another point. She even now she admits through her quotes, it's not a purpose, it is direction. So it is not the speed with which you travel. Speed with which where do you travel? The direction, the purpose. Speed thrills but kills for traffic. Oh, it is not, it's not how fast you are going. You are always on time. You are not too fast, too slow. Don't worry. Don't worry. That's what I'm talking about. At the age of 70, Trump became US president. By the time of the 70, Obama retired. How come you can say? There are several stories. No? It is not too fast, too slow. You are always on time. Everything happens for a reason. The moment you practice dharma, that you go for introspection, all absurdities, we are talking about, all drama, that individual absurdities, that will come down, rationalize your action. You won't indulge in that, that the greater, the crimes. You'll be for greater happiness, not for lesser happiness. You will understand what is the true purpose and direction of the life, because there is a godly particle in you. Boson particle in you, there is a God in you. You will start doing, the justice for that. We are talking that way, that for human beings, examine and think about changes. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, so fast changing societies, in the world, the materialistic world, the turnover, your investments, your commitment, ultimately, your domestic chorus, that your own, societal commitments never allowing. It's not the speed. It's not busyness. It's priority. Nobody is busy. Anybody is saying busy, I say, that they are wrong. They are misleading the world. They are cheating. It's not busy. Busy person, in my opinion, busy person always finding time. They're busy, that you are misleading the world. You are cheating. You are cheating yourself otherwise. Everything happens on time. It is not busy. It's priority. It is consciousness with which, we avoid some people. For that, we say we are busy. So what? You're born afresh. It is that way, that ஒரு கதவை மூடினால் 1000 கதவுகள் திறக்கும். When one door closes, thousands and thousands of doors, ready to open, waiting for you. Ultimately, it is that way. The world of great opportunities. You have to understand. No, don't beg for love. Don't beg for, that relationship. That's what, please come out of that, that social network you have to utilize brilliantly to learn more. Of course, that's wonderful opportunity. To build community, to build relationship, right relationship. It's not begging. Right things will stay. Don't worry about it. I'm talking about, don't say you are busy, that it's not running after likes. Because, right things are not popular. Like itself called exploitation. Love, rather love. So fast changing societies and consumerist culture in the contemporary world leave less time for human beings to examine, that and think about changes, because you are very fast food world. You come first, you eat first, you go first. Ultimately, everything happens in a fraction of time. When you think about, the universe, it's not even fractions of fraction, our presence. But you will say you are a great man. You own Korana. You are Mavir, Kingamle. Oh my God, poor fellows. Okay, that you need so many Socrates, Plato people to make them understand knowledge is virtue. It is that way, that will rationalize actually. But that way, ladies and gentlemen, it will take time. They will evolve one day. Let's believe that way. And not only that, we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So adaptation to the changes, that have become, automatic and questionable. Ultimately, we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, and questionable nahi hai, unquestionable. We are talking about. So adaptation, the change is constant. That if you are not adapting yourself to the ongoing changes, you will be thrown out. You have to update. You have to gel. So that becomes, that automatic and unquestionable. That, yeah, but you are supposed to question everything, introspect everything. Why? Otherwise, why not? Question everything. Nothing wrong in that. Get convinced. Don't silence your whispering, that the conscience. You don't ignore your inner voice. The moment you ignore it, it's over. You lose your identity. You're traveling towards, that a dangerous situation. The quotation has strong relevance in the present times. That the unexamined life is unworthy of living. Where human beings are burdened with, the histories of war, historical recorrection, and colonization, and nationalization, and erosion of morality in the scientific and technological advancement. The social media has become selfish medium. We utilize social medium so as to hurt others. Character assassination, false news, fake news, reporting, that reporting lacks objectivity by media. You see, all vulgarity, the comments, hurting people. So it is that way we talk about, that they utilize, the very, through social media, you can connect yourself, you can build community, get connected with your school days, the college days, your relatives in different parts of the world. You learn many things. It has become globalized era, the technology facilitating, it's a global village. But instead, you use the tool, for dividing people, polarizing people, hurting people, in indulging character assassination. The negativity, full of negativity. Oh my God, I'm tired. That you have to be very alert, careful. Otherwise, that will spoil your mood every day. It's better to, that not to get. Otherwise, you allot a separate time. You don't waste time. I'm talking about. So that is, even the car invention came. People said, why you got horse already? Why you need car? When TV came, people said it is box. But I learned English out of TV news, English news, especially through dictionary also. So it is up to you. It is up to you how you utilize, that matters. That goes with mindset of the people. That otherwise it becomes ill effects of science and technology. Now we are worried cyber crimes, cyber snooping, the world under surveillance. You might be aware, big data. That you might be. We are talking about all those. That the artificial intelligence, robotic. Big data, everything. The blockchain technology. How vulnerable we are. We are talking about. Otherwise, the human beings are in the world of big data manipulated. You are manipulated. Ultimately, that the data has become a commodity. We are manipulated. Human beings are manipulated. The violation of privacy we are talking about. All these things, of course, that no introspection. Ultimately, the sense of that what happened, and that in the technological and the technological advancement, and the sense of spiritual uprootedness we are talking about. The quotation has got strong relevance. Unexamined life as unworthy of living. The present times. Why? Where human beings are burdened with histories of war, colonization, nationalization, erosion of morality, the scientific and technological advancements, and the sense of spiritual uprootedness. Because you were completely preoccupied with material. What I will get out of it? It's not what I can give, what I can do for you. Because when you approach, great people, they will say, yes, what I can do for you. That's a different question. When you go in, what I can get out of it. So totally two different, that category. Giving, getting, over. So it's not classifying people in terms of male, female, that are rich, poor, or that race, that religion, this religion, or IQ, EQ. Only two things. Are you part of giving or part of getting? Over. In my opinion, only two kinds of people. Once you become part of getting, to do that, you will justify everything. Once you become part of giving, you don't need justification. You'll be happy by giving away. By giving away, that you are virtuous. To give, you don't need more money. Whatever you have, whatever possible, you can give. That is contribution. You don't need money. You don't need a rich person or intellectual to give others, to be part of contribution. That's different story. So this self-introspection I'm talking about, that comes only by experience, by getting exposed to the great people. Periyor Tunai Kodal. The great books otherwise that will guide you, the great intellectuals, the thinkers, they will guide you. We are talking that way. So it is in this, that the times that one needs to dwell, that the deeper into the conscience, the inner voice, to find the purpose of who am I, why I am here, what is my purpose, and engage in more meaningful manner with the society we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, that way, I think, ladies and gentlemen, it is right time, that it is. Yeah, let me take you to the next level. I think, we have to reserve this particular question as well as Plato for, that another discussion. Let me take you. It is right time. And the very resources when we are talking about, of course, that, ladies and gentlemen, of course, that you got basic book, the lexicon, even Subbarao, that we've got, the Ramesh Arora in the market. And when it comes to ethics in public administration, ladies and gentlemen, second administrative reform commissions we are talking about, you please, go through, you will get more ideas. That too, 11th report, 10th report, 11th report, related articles. And we have to discuss more also, ladies and gentlemen. I think, that it is right time. This is right time. Let me take you to a little bit of, revision, so that, we will be, the discussing the very Plato and, the another question based on Warren Buffett in another session. Because, hope, I think, this much speed is relevant for you. It's not super fast speed. It's not a speed. It is a purpose. It is a direction. I understood. Have you understood? It is that way, that it is. I realized that. So I thought it's totally depending upon nature of the audience also. Since I don't know who is on the other end, maybe you type your questions and you can also tell me the feedback. Accordingly, I can alter. Otherwise, you evolve to this level, because already it's, you don't expect me to go further slow. It will spoil the mood then. It spoil the very purpose, ladies and gentlemen. That, ladies, this is that way. The Western, that moral thinkers, where we talk about, SPA, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. We spoke about, that we discussed elaborately about, that the Socrates, the greatest thinker, and whose disciple Plato we are going to discuss, and also Aristotle in another session, that later times. And also, that I try to link, of course, that how Socrates quote, that came in question paper, the very question, of course, that what's your opinion, what's your meaning, you develop out of that particular question, or quote, what do you say? Unexamined life is not worth of living. Of course, that's Socrates' statement. We talk about, that. So he was, that executed, you might be aware, in the Greek, the country. Of course, his disciple Plato, because of his execution, he got angry. All of the contributions of Plato became, that anti-democratic. Because of that reason, you're going to witness that. And not only that, that I think it is right time. Let me recall the quotes. He's the man who has the man of the courage, who doesn't run away. Don't escape. Face the challenges. Ship is always safe on its shore, but ship is meant for sailing. Come on. Okay. But remains at his post and fights against the enemy, whoever may be. Be ready to face the challenges. Be a fighter. Have a dheeraj. Of course, the worthless people live only, eat and drink. This and all the things we spoke, that, because I have to touch this quotes once again. That, the all what you eat, what you drink is a means, not end. Not end. Don't, that you have to understand. So you're for greater, higher order purpose. You are for higher order purpose. மிகப்பெரிய காரியங்களை செய்வதற்காக இறைவன் உங்களை அனுப்பி வைத்திருக்கிறார். சிற்றின்பத்தில் மூழ்கி இறந்து விடாதீர்கள். That I'm telling in Tamil. You are for greater and higher order purpose in the world. Don't spoil yourself by focusing on the lesser, the immature things. That don't shroud in that, that all those, materialistic tendencies. Of course, materials are needed, no doubt at all. But you know how to earn. That the role is very limited. There are so many things beyond that. That talks about virtue, the morality, rectitude, that gives you happiness. Only when you practice, moral life, you can live happily. That's the meaning we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So, that the language is the outcome of your mindset, that mind your language, people say normally. The vocabularies, the keywords, of course, that. So far, you should not spoil your soul by going for bad language. The medium and its outcome, of course, the very language should not spoil the very soul we're talking about. That's fantastic. I really cherish, that those the quotes of, Socrates, that's right time, that I took you to that. Not only that, we are talking about he is the richest. This is need of the hour. Given the world, people are very greedy. Of course, that Corona rationalized the greedy character, because you can live with, that simple way life you can live. That if you want to live like others, you need more money. If you want to live like yourself, you need less money. That's what Corona revealed to you. You can lead simple and humble. Even though you have everything, you got car, you got, establishment, you got investment, everything, you can't go out of, your home because Corona. The Corona revealed you. You can also live happily. You can focus on more in your own relationship, the right relationship, what I'm talking about. You can feel rich or content, self-satisfaction, that with least what you have. With limited resources, you live happily during Corona period. Will you continue? Have you learned the lesson out of it? Will you continue to do the same? Even once that opened up, of course, that again we are talking about the mutation, another strain in UK, the second wave of Corona. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. That's fantastic. The quotes, that would have reached you. We spoke, that is the contribution of Socrates teleological. Of course, think about purpose and goal. Otherwise, the virtue, knowledge is virtue. That's fantastic. And we also, that, of course, the doctrine of soul, that made him to think all virtues converge into one. We spoke, and all forms participate and lead to the highest form. That's a form of good or virtue. You call knowledge is virtue. The idea, that of life should focus on self-development, on goodness, virtue, justice, integrity, friendship. We are talking about these are all the contributions of, that I understand. The only one thinker should stay in your mind. If you discuss, two thinkers in the same session, I know the confusion. Too many cooks spoil the food. I understood, but I understand. To my satisfaction, I explained this thinker. Let us use another session to think, the discuss Plato and another question also. I think that though I am prepared to face you, that face you with two topics that God has given me, God has restricted me. I believe that way. Hope that I think this speed also would have benefited you more. I believe that way, ladies and gentlemen. So the morality, that we are talking about in life, of course, they brought the very happiness in human beings. That's according to that the very that the Socrates. So you have to use your rational understanding, stoicism, to rediscover knowledge. That knowledge is virtue that gives you happiness, because people become unethical because they lack that awareness. And that very Socrates shifted the heroic attention from the heroic virtues, the winning, war, all those, that valor, everything. Instead, the courage, that what is that? The courage, you have to understand, that so that should lead morality. That's very important. And the morality, the beyond that can be taught, transmitted through education. Of course, but how such a humble person, even I quoted Ilayaraja, in parallelism with, Socrates, what is that? Even though he knows everything as a philosopher, he said he was humble enough, he knew nothing. That is his way of, stating, that he had no fixed, I know nothing. I don't have anything. I know nothing. Unassuming leadership. This is what, of course, this is otherwise called Socratic irony. Ironia. We are talking about, ironia, ladies and gentlemen. So, that we have discussed, that so far, and we all born with, objective content. As I said, truth, beauty, justice, that you have to understand. And, that you just evaluate yourself, how deviated you are, that how you have silenced your inner voice, the judge in you. Then you lead to, crisis of conscience, that tannanje tannai chudum. Nobody, the guilty feeling you develop. That's what. Law, only on violating the law, on punishment, you feel guilty. The world of ethics, even thinking of violating, you feel guilty. Why thought this way? Why thought this way? What a bad person I am. You judge yourself. You go for self-introspection. This is what ethics, the world of ethics. It's not more than law. It's not compromising law, but it is pragmatic and flexible. Ladies and gentlemen, we spoke, that his own background, all of his contributions are ethical than scientific. That is what we spoke, ladies and gentlemen. This is right time. Of course, you got the right spirit. That we will be discussing Plato and another question in another session. I don't want rush. It is not the speed, it is the direction. It's a purpose. That's very important, ladies and gentlemen. I think, I appreciate your participation and passions. Hope I would have, that made your time worthwhile, ladies and gentlemen. And the resources also, that we discussed. Please use my referral code, say success to avail, that maximum, that 10% discount, ladies and gentlemen. So this is Success Sampath here to interacted with you. We will be, that meeting in another session, with another topic, especially the plateau and another, the question we'll be trying to leak, and a lot of, the thinkers I have to take you. Don't worry, that's my responsibility. You just travel with me, ladies and gentlemen, and appreciating your participation once again and passions, that this is Success Sampath welcoming you to Unacademy once again. That please go for iconic program, use my referral code success to avail maximum 10% discount. This is, that Success Sampath signing off from you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Nice of you.